Donald Trump has just suspended all military aid to Ukraine. Holy crap, this news is breaking right now. I'm sure Zelenskyy really does regret trying to talk over the president of the United States last Friday. And the weirdest thing out of the whole scandal involving Volodymyr Zelenskyy of Ukraine in the White House, in the Oval Office, was that Democrats were defending Ukraine. And it's just the weirdest thing to be like, bro, you don't even know where it is on a map. Why are you defending it? They come up with every reason, but there's only one. They hate Donald Trump. That's it. Because Donald Trump and J.D. Vance brought up really good points. What are we getting for our involvement in this war that you can't win? You've got no manpower. You're losing badly. He had no good answer. Now I'm seeing, you know what I love the most about this is the liberals, the progressives, who, I don't know, only 10 years ago were claiming the military-industrial complex is a bad thing, now cheering for another $100 billion being sent to Ukraine. And they don't know why. They can't give a good, honest reason. I've been watching some of these debates from these pro-Ukraine war people, and they lie about everything. My favorite is when they're like, if we don't stop Putin in Ukraine, he'll take Poland. Kaliningrad is already north of Poland, heavily militarized. Plus, Belarus is an ally of Russia. They're lying. I'm going to rant if I keep going. We got more stories, my friends. We've got more stories. There's a crazy one that we'll come to later. Popular streamer and I guess you could OnlyFans personality, whatever. Amaranth. Someone tried to steal 211 Bitcoin from her, and I guess she shot some of these guys. It's a crazy story. She's a very prominent internet personality, and this story's breaking. We'll talk about that. Then, ladies and gentlemen, the head of the FBI office in New York says he was forced to resign. This is the guy who's in charge of the office that allegedly was covering up the Epstein documents. So we got a doozy of a bunch of stories here. We've got European nations pledging to deploy troops into Ukraine if there is a deal, which makes literally no sense. They're just saying we're getting our troops ready. We got a lot to talk about, my friends. Before we do, check that link in the description below, my friends. We got a great sponsor. It's Tax Network USA. You got to visit tnusa.com/Tim. Check it out. The IRS is the largest collection agency in the world. And with April 15th fast approaching, it's more aggressive than ever. In 2025, enforcement is ramped up. And if you owe back taxes or have unfiled returns, waiting is not an option. The longer you do, the worse it gets. Ignoring your tax troubles is the worst thing you can do. April 15th marks another tax year that has passed you by. Getting ahead of this now is the smart move, but never contact the IRS alone. Instead, let the experts at Tax Network USA handle it for you. And true story, I've recommended them to a couple of my friends who are having issues with the IRS. I mean, that's legit. Why? Because not all resolution companies are the same. Tax Network USA has a preferred direct line to the IRS, meaning they know exactly which agents to deal with and which to avoid. With proven strategies to settle tax problems in your favor, whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million, Tax Network USA's attorneys and negotiators have already resolved over $1 billion in tax debt. Talk with one of their strategists today. It's free. Stop the threatening letters. Stop looking over your shoulder and protect yourself from property seizures and bank levies. Don't let the IRS control your future. Call 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/Tim. April 15th, just around the corner. Act now before the IRS acts first. Shout out to Tax Network USA. Thanks for sponsoring the show. And of course, Cast Brew. We got K-Cups. You know, you go to castbrew.com, you scroll down, you can get your little K-Pods. A lot of people have been asking for these. They exist indeed. We even got Sleepy Joe decaf and Unwoke decaf. Those are pretty good. I know Joe's not present anymore, but Sleepy Joe is still funny, so you should buy it. And then, of course, Appalachian Nights. Ian's Graphene Dream will be in stock soon. And as always, we're going to have the uncensored members-only call-in show coming up tonight at 10. So go to timcastpremium.com. That will redirect you to sign up for Rumble Premium. Use promo code TIM10. Also, check out at rumble.com/TimcastIRL, our green room behind-the-scenes show. We're having fun hanging out with Viva earlier, and we were fingerboarding, as we often do. It's right. He was learning.
It sounds very, very gross. Would you say fingerboarding? But yes, Tim is very talented with his fingers. It's
Indeed, I am. Oh, that was dirty. But
family show, Viva family.
I'm going to say this: we've got some stories that before the show we were all like, okay, we're going to have to save this one from the uncensored portion because some of this stuff gets a little dirty. So I'm going to tell you, not dirty, but like. Yo, let me just say this. We're gonna cover the Amaranth story to the best factual ability we can. We'll try and keep it family friendly. But for the more serious, there's video and there's stuff like that. We don't want to show that. We'll keep that to the not so family friendly portion. I know a lot of people might have their kids in the room. There's video. And she was apparently, she was struck and things like that. So we're going to save that for the uncensored portion. Smash that like button, my friends. Share the show right now. If everybody took that URL right now, copied, pasted it, blasted off on social media, this would be the biggest show in the world. If you think we do a good job, if you like the show and you really do watch and appreciate it, then please consider sharing it with all your friends. Word of mouth really does help. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more, we got Viva Frei. Or is it Frei?
Viva Frei. Last name, Freiheit.
There we
go.
go.
We were joking around that it started off as a very quiet news day, and then within the 30 minutes in the green room, a few stories blew up. The video of Amaranth, though, it's of the incident, not of her OnlyFans, right? That would be for the after party?
Yes.
Bada bing, bada boom. I'm out of here.
You can leave now. All right. Who are you? What do you do?
David Freiheit, former litigator, turned current Florida Rumbler. Got the podcast Viva Frei, a great locals community, vivabarneslaw.locals.com. Daily podcast at 12:30. Car vlogs where I get into my car and rant and rave about what's going on in the world. And that about sums it up.
Right on. Thanks for hanging out. Shane's here.
Hey there, I am the host of Inverted World Live. Last night, I talked to a lady who claimed to be abducted by aliens at the age of 5, and they took her soul, Phil. And then at the hour and a half mark, Andrew Cuomo called in to talk about his run for mayor in New York City. So check it out. We're on YouTube and Rumble every Sunday at 6 o'clock. How are you?
What did they do with her soul?
They took it and gave it to someone else and gave her a new one,
Oh,
according to her.
so wouldn't that make you a different person?
Totally different person. Yeah,
All
we
right.
talked about that.
Good to know. I'm Phil Labonte, the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains. I'm an anti-communist and a counter-revolutionary. Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the post-millennial Donald Trump, I would like to say thank you, Mr. President. This is exactly what I voted for, and that is not a joke nor an understatement. President Trump pauses all military aid to Ukraine. The pause will continue until Trump determines that the Ukrainians show a commitment of good faith peace negotiations. This is absolutely incredible news. I am 100% opposed to our involvement in Ukraine. It is a lie. It is illegitimate. Let me give you some of the news before I rant on this one. President Trump has stopped all military aid to Ukraine following last week's clash with Volodymyr Zelenskyy. The pause will continue until they show good faith. The move comes after Zelenskyy said that the end of the war with Russia was still very, very far away. Per the New York Post, Zelenskyy left the White House at 1:42 p.m. A scheduled press conference that was set to take place between the two leaders later Thursday was canceled. The two leaders had been set to sign a rare earth minerals deal Friday. The deal was not signed. Trump wrote following the meeting, "With a very meaningful meeting in the White House today, much was learned that could never be understood without conversation under such fire and pressure. It's amazing what comes out through emotion. And I've determined that President Zelenskyy is not ready for peace if America is involved, because he feels our involvement gives him a big advantage in negotiations. I don't want advantage, I want peace. He disrespected the United States of America in its cherished Oval Office. He can come back when he is ready for peace." Standing ovation. Bravo. I am so impressed by Donald Trump's leadership on this one. I'd have done the exact same thing myself. You come to me and ask me for, look, okay, the analogy I made, this morning on my morning show is your cat is dying. And so you come to me and tell me I have to spend the money to save your cat's life. And it's like, okay, well, I would like to. I don't want to see your cat get sick. And then you start interrupting me, talking over me, insulting me, telling me it's my problem. And I'm going to be like, get out of my house. Mm-hmm. And this is exactly what Trump did. And this is the message that needs to be sent to people of the world. No more handouts.
He shows up. I won't say he's dressed like a bum, but Trump made the joke, "Oh, you dressed up for the meeting." And I couldn't tell if it was tongue in cheek because he's wearing a long sleeve camo fatigue and not a short sleeve. Shows up wearing his costume that he's been playing this character for the longest time. And then at one point during that meeting, the clip that went viral with JD Vance, where he says, like, you guys don't feel the Russian pressure because you have a big, beautiful ocean, but you'll feel the pressure if you stop supporting us. I didn't just listen to that and hear it as an insult. I heard it as a direct threat that, and then I didn't piece it together. Like, we're forgetting that, how many months ago did that nutcase Ruth try to take out President Trump? They had one of their, yeah, they had a Ukrainian zealot who tried to take Trump out, and though the rest of us forgotten about it, obviously Trump did not. And so it's about time. I love the idea that he's going to say, you're not ready for peace yet, so we're going to stop all military support. That will butter you up for peace real fast.
This is the thing. Zelenskyy, and Trump is right, Zelensky's attitude is, if the U.S. does a deal, then we have leverage. And Trump is like, no. The deal is not about you, Zelenskyy. The deal is us saying no more war. But Zelenskyy is trying to leverage U.S. involvement to maintain conflict with Putin and with Russia, for which Why are we involved? A gas deal, largely. And man, there was a Will on the Will Cain show today. He had a couple individuals. He had Sean Davis and another guy, and they were talking about why this fighting is happening. And I forget who the other guy was, so forgive me, because it's important. His points were awful. He said, Putin doesn't care about NATO. Finland joins. He doesn't care about NATO. And Sean Davis says, no, he cares about which country joins NATO. And Ukraine joining NATO would cut Russia off from Crimea and the Black Sea Fleet, where they transport goods to the Mediterranean and through the Red Sea into through the Sinai Peninsula, or I'm sorry, the Sinai Canal. Into the Arabian Sea and all these things, that would cut off Russia from half the world. So Russia was not going to let that happen. The other guy responds with, Ukraine's no threat to Russia. And it's like, they have no answer. They have no answer. We shouldn't be involved in this. This is just NATO expansionism. And it's a major, it makes no sense. But let me tell you, I'll say one more thing, because I know I'm ranting on this. Foreign policy gets me going. I said, I think it was like last year or whatever, that Ukraine is an enemy of this country. And boy, did the Democrats just start vomiting on themselves, playing this clip over and over again, saying Tim Pool works for Russia, blah, blah, blah. I stand by exactly what I said, and I will say it again. Ukraine is an enemy of this country, and I'll tell you exactly why. Germany charged a Ukrainian individual with bombing the Nord Stream pipeline. That was blamed on Russia. They blew up their own pipeline. As long as nobody knew who it was, that bombing, should it have actually been a Ukrainian? And we believe it was. That's largely what people believe. Ukraine bombed this, or Ukrainian individuals in the direction of the West or whatever. That's the kind of attack that could escalate us into World War III. Zelenskyy has made himself clear in these meetings and every meeting that the U.S. will feel pain unless they get what they want. That is not an ally. An ally comes to you and says, please, sir, we beg of you, support us. He says, you got a notion? You're going to feel the pain. And then it's Ukraine accused of bombing Nord Stream by Germany?
You remember when Ukraine accidentally killed the 2 Polish farmers, tried to blame it on Russia to invoke Article 5 by saying that a member of NATO now has suffered an attack. They're trying to get the world into a World War III.
That's right. And it was Ukraine that murdered Gonzalo Lira.
Right.
Ukraine has not been treating America. This was a Chilean-American journalist murdered by Zelenskyy's government. They're accused by Germany. Germany's not Russia. Germany is a NATO ally of ours who has charged Ukraine with bombing the Nord Stream pipeline. Ukraine is trying to force the United States into a war which will kill millions of people.
The whole point of the whole end that Zelenskyy was after when he was in the meeting was to get security guarantees. And by guarantees, he wants American military in Ukraine. And he essentially was getting 90% of what he wanted, right? He was going to have Americans. There would have been American businesses in Ukraine with the deal that they were looking for. And that wasn't good enough for him. He wanted to have guarantees, not assurances, guarantees. I guess the language matters a little bit. If you have security assurances, it's one thing. If you have a security guarantee, there are certain other things that are expected when it comes to international law. And so he was looking to get the United States to say, okay, we'll give you guarantees. And it was bad form to do it in the Oval Office in front of the press. You do those kind of negotiations behind closed doors, so you can swear at each other, you can get mad, you can do the kind of things that happened in public, and you can do it without the repercussions of having the press watch.
He's an actor.
Well, he is, yes.
Look at his body language in this picture. He knows what he's selling to the public.
Yeah, 100%. And he was also, he'd been coached by Democrats, which is beyond the pale. The idea that, because Chris Murphy was talking.
I heard that he met with Republicans and Democrats.
Okay, so fair enough. But
that also could mean nothing,
pro-war Republicans.
Like a bunch of rhinos out there, hawks.
Pro-war Republicans.
Yeah.
But the whole meeting with Trump was an absolute debacle, and it was not because of Trump or the administration. Trump was giving him 90% of it was what he wanted. This was just supposed to be a grip and rip, like just shake hands, have a little, of course Trump is going to go ahead and have a little banter and kind of poop on him because he had done things to endorse Joe Biden and the Biden administration. So you knew that there was animosity there, but it was going to be a generally friendly interaction, and Zelenskyy didn't want it.
I wonder how much of what Zelenskyy did was on purpose to prolong the war. We know that there have been attempts at peace deals the whole time, and we know Zelenskyy is the main obstacle. He does not want any kind of negotiated resolution. we hear from Europe with them saying, Ukraine will have a seat at these negotiations, but Ukraine has nothing to do with it. Ukraine is the battlefield between NATO and Russia. Russia wants access to Crimea and the Black Sea. The West wants to control NATO and shut down their Gazprom gas monopoly and their access to the Black Sea so they can control gas prices. Ukraine is irrelevant here. I wonder if Zelenskyy did that all on purpose, knowing it would result in a collapse of peace deals so he can prolong the war. That's his plan. Because you have to understand, Zelenskyy, with the cameras in front of him, knew that if he insulted Donald Trump on camera, Trump would respond publicly because Trump's not going to let that slide. He's going to say, you insult me on TV, I insult you on TV.
I don't think he did it on purpose because I think it brings about the end game a lot quicker. All the other countries can piss and moan all they want, and Canada can say we're going to stay loyal and let's join up with Britain. They can't do it without America. I do say Zelensky's going to go down as being like the modern day Yasser Arafat, where it's going to become clear that he never wanted an actual peace settlement out of this. What he asked for by way of the settlement was nukes in NATO, which is exactly what started this conflict in the first place. But I think now he's in like total self-preservation mode, because it's one thing that this war is going to end the way it's going to end, and then what the heck is he going to do afterwards, because he's going to be persona non grata in his own country.
For our sake, I'm glad he did it, just because we experienced a national catharsis when JD and Trump tag teamed him. It was amazing.
But Democrats have been defending Zelenskyy.
Yeah, we live in two different realities.
Who's the guy that just said it was? I accused him of sedition. It was a journalist. He says that's why I stand with Zelenskyy and against Donald Trump. It's like, then move to frickin' Ukraine.
Yeah.
These idiots who are pledging their allegiance to Zelenskyy. For the decade prior to this war, Ukraine was a known corrupt hellhole. Its number one export was human trafficking. It had a Nazi problem that they all knew about for the longest times. You can still go. They haven't memory hold all of it on Twitter. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, you can't talk about this.
You know what I think is another big factor here is, Zelenskyy got that Vogue cover, right? It was on the cover with his wife or whatever. When this war ends, he's nobody. He's nothing. That's it.
He'll probably sign with CAA, the same place Biden and
in all seriousness, yeah, he probably will. But right now, he is enjoying the principal conflict is about him, and he gets to you know what it is, man. You know what I'm thinking? How much you want to bet Zelenskyy was like, what do I do after this war? We're losing. Ukraine's lost. Where do I go? Right? The Russians are going to come in. Ukrainian forces are routed. He'll be removed from power. Here's what he does. He insults Donald Trump on TV and argues with him. And now he's going to have a free press tour among Democrats for life in the United States.
Yeah, guaranteed.
He's going to say, I stood up to your president because he was wrong. And they're going to clap and cheer for him for no other reason than they hate Donald Trump.
And that's what the left sees. I mocked him the other day. I posted the Time magazine cover of Trump yelling at the little baby who was crying, saying that's Trump and Zelenskyy. And I had friends reach out to me saying, you've lost your humanity. Like, this is their new George Floyd, where they see Ukraine. Like, they can't take anyone mocking Zelenskyy. And they saw in this meeting, they saw a hero stand up to a tyrant.
It's really ridiculous too, because the whole situation is just Donald Trump is doing this, so I'm against it.
Yeah.
There's no thought put into it. Even people that watch the whole interview, the whole presser or whatever, where it's pretty obvious that it was not Donald Trump being this bad guy, right? Like, Donald Trump was trying to talk it down the whole 30 minutes, or the first 30 or 35 minutes, and then it escalated at the end. There are people that I know that are like, oh, it doesn't matter. It was still Donald Trump's fault. And it's like, then there are other people that are like explicitly anti-Trump, right? Clearly, you can look at their history. I think his name's Richard Hanania. Hanania. He's very, very anti-Trump generally, but even he had a reasonable, honest take. He's like, no, after I watched the whole thing, it really was bad form by Zelenskyy. Konstantin Kisin also, same thing. Initially, he had one impression because he saw the 2-minute clip, but then after watching the whole thing, he's like, no, this is not how you prove it. And Konstantin is a Ukrainian, I'm pretty sure.
I think so.
No,
he's either Ukrainian or Russian, and like he's very pro-Ukraine, very anti-Russia, and he still was like, look, this was a bad deal,
We got into a bit of a fight, but he didn't like some of the things that Robert Barnes had to say about his blind support for Ukraine. But I hadn't heard that he actually took a critical position.
He did.
So
He
good,
did.
good on him. But what people are forgetting, like, they're idiots because they think this conflict started in 2022. Period. Bona fide idiots. They don't understand when it started, and they're idiots because they don't understand what is going on here. It's a money laundering, corrupt theft is what it is.
From the United States side, from the West
I'd say
side.
from Ukrainian side. Look at what Zelenskyy is worth now. Look at the properties he's been buying up. Look at who his military leaders have been, what they've been stealing from the monies that have been going out to them. He says, like, we've only seen 100 billion of the 177 billion that was sent to us, and we don't know where it got stolen. I can get it's a little bit of both, but it's definitely on their end. An article in Newsweek from January, like, going through the corruption. If they get caught, they get fired. Meanwhile, everyone in the Ukrainian government is getting rich off of this. They've always been a corrupt country. There's no reason to be in there. Had they been fighting this out among themselves with no, like, big brother helping out the little brother, they would have figured out a solution 800,000 Ukrainian and Russians ago.
They'd have lost instantly. There's no war. Russia walks in Ukraine. There's no war.
But Russia did not ever, as far as I'm concerned, want to take over all of Ukraine. The idea that they want to take over all of Ukraine and then all of Europe, so 150 million people are going to take over 750 million people, it was nonsense. It's about the eastern provinces, the eastern territories. Zelenskyy was elected on a platform to negotiate a resolution with that. Reneged when he was told by Boris or whoever the hell else said, go and fight this war. We can all get rich and we can fight a proxy war against Russia.
I disagree about that. I think if Russia could have taken all of Ukraine, they would have. I don't think they would have gone into Poland. I don't think they would have gone after all of Europe. But I do think that they would have gone after all of Ukraine because of the history that they have and stuff. But that, like, I don't think he was looking to go into Poland. I don't think that he was looking to go into a NATO country because he doesn't want to fight NATO. Like, that's a suicide.
It's mutually assured destruction.
Yes.
If
Absolutely.
Russia loses the Black Sea, Russia ceases to exist. That's their access to North Africa, the Mediterranean, and the Sinai Canal. Is it Sinai Canal, right? I
don't know how to say it.
Suez Canal.
Suez Canal. There you go. Suez
I thought you were talking about Mount Sinai, so I didn't want to get
Sinai Peninsula.
It's the Sinai Peninsula. Yeah, right. It's the Suez Canal. My bad. And that gets them access to the Indian Ocean, etc. It rips them from that part of the world completely. So it's a non-starter. Let's jump to the story from Politico. More governments pledge to join UK and France in sending peacekeepers to Ukraine. We're at a crossroads in history, says UK Starmer, as some European leaders vow to increase defense spending. Now, this story has been going viral, and it's being framed as though the UK, France, and other countries want to deploy troops right now and ignite World War III. That's not the case. What they're saying is, in the event of a peace deal, they plan to send troops into Ukraine. So, if there is some kind of peace agreement between Russia and Ukraine and the U.S. and the West and whatever, after that, then they'll send in troops, which is, they may as well be saying there will never be a peace deal. You don't say before your peace negotiations to Vladimir Putin, imagine this. What does Putin want? We've mentioned he wants the land bridge from the Donbass region, Luhansk, Donetsk, Mariupol, Zaporizhia, etc., going down Ukraine into Crimea so he can secure and defend it and have land access. Otherwise, there's just one bridge to the east of Crimea. So, okay, Crimea is where their Black Sea fleet is based, Sevastopol. They have a major industrial port. Russia's not giving that up. They want land access to secure and defend that territory. Tell Russia right now, here's what we're going to do, Russia. We want to negotiate peace. The moment you turn around, we're going to send in troops from NATO. What do you think Putin's going to say? He's going to say, yeah, effing right. No way. Russia wants to secure this territory. Right now, it's Russia versus Ukraine. They may as well have said, when France and the UK announced they will deploy troops into Ukraine upon a peace deal, they may have just said, don't do a deal with us, Putin. Don't do a deal to end the war. Because with this pledge, there is no way Putin's going to agree to a deal.
It blows my. First of all, it's stupid because it's saying he was opposing NATO expansion, and then after the peace settlement, you're going to have the very NATO expansion that started this conflict in the first place. Also, UK and France should be worrying about their own steaming hellholes of countries in Europe right now and not thinking about send troops into Marseille and send troops into Région in France and send troops into certain no-go zones in the UK and deal with your sexual assault gangs before you start worrying about securing a peace or starting a war after you've secured a peace. So, doctor, heal thyself, but it's also stupid because
I believe that the moves they made here, like with Boris Johnson, their intention is to make it appear as though they want peace while doing everything they can to sabotage it. That's why Zelenskyy screams at Trump. I'm exaggerating. But that's why he interrupts and cuts Trump off and insults and disrespects them. This is why they're pledging to send in troops. It basically tells Russia there will be no agreement. That's what they're saying.
It seems like they're all mobilizing. It's like a way to stop Trump. You know, when they all kind of band together to support what Trump's perceived enemy, because it reminds me of how COVID happened. They release a bioweapon to stop Trump. In my opinion, that's what I think happened.
I concur with
Thank you. Thank you. So I think this is just part 2 of that, you know, the way like they've turned all this into, you know, like you were saying with Ukraine, where the money's going. It's like BLM getting the money and they got mansions with it, right? All these people are profiting off of it. So that's all I see is just another way to get at Trump.
I mean, I think that there's absolutely, there are people that are motivated simply by a hatred of Trump. I do think, I mean, clearly, you know, Putin wants to take land from Ukraine. The Russians do look at Ukraine.
He gave us the whole history about it.
Yeah, you know, they do look at Ukraine as their territory.
Did you see the tweet? I think it was from Insurrection Barbie. She said, so let me get this straight. Zelenskyy is a hero for putting Ukraine first, but Trump is a fascist for putting America first.
Yeah.
It's got like 30,000 retweets, and everyone's like, yep.
That's it.
So you've got Democrats are like Slava Ukraini, and they don't care about America. They don't care about our borders. They don't care about our economy. You know what I really love? Let me show you this. Let me pull up Civics. I love Civics data. National economy current condition. Oh, they're so bent out of shape over this one. Here's the polling for the current economy. Let's take a look at Democrats. How do Democrats view the economy right now? Well, right before Trump got inaugurated, literally, Trump gets elected, and 50%, 51% say the economy is fairly good, 22% say very good. Donald Trump is inaugurated, and then overnight, Democrats think the economy is bad.
Well, in fairness, he is doing a lot of cutting some federal jobs, and a lot of those Democrats are federal employees. No, I just got to disagree on one thing, Tim.
I'm going to agree with that, but the polling view shifted within 1 week before Doge, for everything. Democrats immediately just went, the economy is bad now.
Yep.
I don't think Zelenskyy threw that hissy fit on purpose. I think he was just actually caught off guard by the change in tenor and tone of the treatment he's getting from the administration. Yeah. He's used to having Josh Shapiro signing their bombs for him. Like, I don't know. I want to know what Josh Shapiro was writing on those warheads. And then
it's like a book, right?
It was long. And I'll just say I don't ever think it's appropriate to write messages on bombs. I mean, they're making light of weapons of war, but setting that aside, I think he was genuinely caught off guard. He's used to people parading him like a hero, bringing him in front of Congress, signing his flag in American government buildings, and then he gets there and he's dressed down literally, and then not to say physically, but verbally afterwards. I think he was just seriously caught off guard.
Yeah, he was already dressed out physically of his own doing.
That's right.
That's right. Showing up in a freaking like a bum. I'll wear a suit if I ever get an invite to the White House.
No. Look, I got invited to the White House and I wore this. I wore my normal thing.
Son of a bitch.
That's
were
right.
You there? Were you negotiating a peace deal?
So they had the White House social media summit. I was the only one not wearing a suit. And my attitude very much was what makes America great is that we are not beholden to wear suits when we go into public institutions. This is a country where a homeless man can look to the most powerful politician and tell him to go screw himself. Whereas in a lot of countries you can't do this, namely like Thailand with lèse-majesté laws. That being said, when I was invited to meet the president, I went and bought a suit. I'm going to meet the president. I kept the beanie. but that was only because I was in Palm Beach. And they were like, look, Donald, the president is here. He's got a bunch of people here. If you want to meet him, you got to wear a suit. That's how we do it. I said, you got it. We bought a suit, showed up. There's a picture of me wearing a suit. And they told me, actually, the beanies do go with the suits. Did you not?
Yeah, there you go.
And then the only other time, the most dressed up I've ever been is my wedding. I wore a suit with no beanie.
Nice.
Look at that.
That's right. The president, Mr. President, with all due respect, I appreciate your work, but I'm going to wear the beanie. That being said, I'm kidding, largely. But the reason why Zelenskyy dressing down was so offensive is that when he went to the World Economic Forum, he wore a suit.
You don't think it's endearing that a tyrant dresses like Adam Sandler?
you realize what it's branding. Like you realize he's been branded, sold, packaged, marketed to the American people,
100%.
and so many have bought into this. Oh, he's such a rugged warrior. He wears that, dude. You wear a freaking suit. Right. People comparing him to Elon. Oh, Elon wears a baseball. Elon is not the president of a foreign country coming to do international geopolitics. He's Doge, and everybody knows that.
So everybody knows that I'm like a very anti-suit, kind of slovenly guy. When we were told by people who worked with Trump, like friends of ours who work in the Republican Party, Trump is here. There's a bunch of senators and prominent individuals. you can come, you must wear a suit. I said, yes, sir. And we went and bought one. Zelenskyy doesn't. he's like,
he had 2 buttons at least, so it was 2 steps up from his short.
I believe it was a reporter who called him out. Was it a reporter? There's a video.
Did Vance not say something?
The one I heard was Trump making the joke not once but twice.
Right.
Thanks for dressing up.
Oh, right,
I didn't hear anybody in the presser, but no, he's doing it on purpose, and it had worked. He had gotten praise for it. He'd gotten on the cover of magazines, and now it's like Dad's home. It's none of this idolatry crap. You better answer for what we're getting for the amount that we spend. You better account for where it's gone. And he can't. He won't, because he's been pocketing a good portion of it.
It is a fact that so let's debunk a bunch of liberal Democrat lies about this. The first is the money is not actually going to Ukraine. The money is used to manufacture weapons. We then send old weapons to them to use. Basically, we're using this to pump up our military and strengthen it, and then sending them the weapons. Let me just stress, excellent, technically the truth. We are still giving our military weapons, expertise, special forces, intelligence to Ukraine, and we still spend money on it. I don't want the U.S. government to spend money on the military-industrial complex. I don't know why Democrats are advocating for that. But the other thing that needs to be brought up, direct funds were sent to Ukrainian companies from the United States for the purpose of building fortifications. When the war broke out near Bryansk and Kursk, I think it was, Russians were invading from the northeast, and lo and behold, Ukrainian forces were shocked to find none of the fortifications were actually built. The companies that were taking the money to build fortifications were fake shell companies that were stealing the U.S. dollars. And that is Ukraine under Zelensky's watch. That is a fact. They try every which way to make up some stupid reason why Democrats are actually in the right to defend. My favorite is they say an agreement was made that if Ukraine gave up its weapons, the United States would defend it in the event Russia invaded. First thing I say to that is, I'm a Ron Paul guy. He says one generation cannot promise the youth, the next generation. You can't do that. More importantly, however, the other agreement that was made was after the fall of East Germany. It was the United States that said NATO will not expand 1 inch eastward. So the argument that we now have to come to the defense of Ukraine because Russia has invaded an agreement, despite the fact that none of these were treaties. These were it was like a memo saying, okay, in the event. And then you have the word. So I get someone tweeting at me saying what you're saying is your country is untrustworthy because you won't defend Ukraine. I'm like, well, I don't know. I think the expansion of NATO was untrustworthy too, which then instigates and escalates the conflict. And now you're telling us we have to go and fight because NATO wanted to be in Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Ukraine. I'm not here for that.
We sign a lot of treaties that we don't hold up to, we don't use biological weapons anymore, but we still do. And
look, the
white phosphorus.
It's weird.
The Budapest Agreement wasn't a treaty. It wasn't ratified by the Senate. It wasn't an actual treaty. It doesn't have the force of a treaty. And in the Budapest Agreement, the agreement is that NATO will intervene. And it's not saying that the United States alone is going to make sure that there's no aggression against against Ukraine. It was an agreement that I believe it said either NATO or the UN. I forget because I don't have it in front of me. But it wasn't a guarantee of the same type of guarantee that Article 5 of the NATO Charter is. That's why we don't want Ukraine in NATO. Right. I think that there's a lot of countries, well, not a lot of countries, but there are a handful of countries that are very problematic being in NATO. I think Turkey being in NATO is very problematic nowadays.
Why are progressives all of a sudden pro-NATO?
It's just because of Donald Trump.
Exactly. It's all whatever Trump is against, they're for, and vice versa.
Well, I think it's mostly Donald Trump, but also I think a part of it is the fact that they're so pro-establishment because they really did have control of the government. They had control of the bureaucracy, all the USAID money, all the money that went to progressive NGOs, and all the money that went to progressive policies that had been sent overseas. All of that money went through USAID and stuff. That was something that the progressives don't want to stop, because that's part of why they were so influential, not just in the United States, but globally. So they don't want that to stop. So that's part of why they're so pro-bureaucracy. This is the left that used to be, anti-government and supposed to be, against the man, and et cetera. Once they became the man, they're,
they used to want to defund the police. Now they're crying over FBI.
Yeah, I mean,
fired.
but the thing is, it was all a lie.
Yeah,
it was all
course.
BS.
They have no moral center.
That's true, but they were in a position of power, and just like any other group, they'll say that they're not, which is the Democrats' line. They've been saying that they're for the working class and stuff for ages and ages, all while they've literally owned all of the the impactful billionaires, except for a very few handful.
Of course.
I say everyone loves freedom of speech until they're the ones in positions of power, and others are using that freedom of speech to attack their position of power. I say the disloyal thing that NATO and the West might have done was overthrowing the president back in 2014 in the Maidan Revolution. The other thing, when you understand what they're doing with these new additions, I think Finland was the second to most recent addition before Sweden to NATO.
Yeah,
Sweden was the most recent, I believe.
They're using Finland as a depot for arms, just like they're using it as a military prostitute to just store weapons. And they do it knowing exactly what the reaction is going to be, and it exactly justifies specifically why NATO should not be expanding and why it is an act of aggression against Russia.
And I encourage everybody out there who is unfamiliar with these territories where these countries are, look up Kaliningrad, okay? Kaliningrad. Take a look at a map of Europe. Look at Poland. Easy to find. It's pretty big. Look right to the north. Hey, what's that? There's a Russian oblast right there. What's that doing? So when they argue that once Russia takes Ukraine, they'll invade Poland, it's like Russia already has access to Poland and Lithuania in the deeply and heavily militarized oblast of Kaliningrad. Not that it's it's the best military position, but they have access to the Baltic as well. So the one thing you would fear is not Ukraine and Poland. Belarus has already allowed Russia to bring nuclear weapons in and bring in troops. Belarus is there's a very small border barrier between Belarus and Kaliningrad. So if Russia was going to move in, they'd bring a bunch of troops into Belarus, probably move through Lithuania into Kaliningrad to create a corridor which they could transport troops and then have access to the Baltic. So these arguments, they're all nonsense. They're lying. The West, we want to shut Russia out. That's why all the Democrats and liberals and pro-war Republicans have been arguing that every Ukrainian that fights a Russian they're saying if Ukraine fights Russia, we won't have to. Basically, the people of Ukraine are cannon fodder to chuck at Russia to weaken them.
It was Tim Scott who said it during one of the presidential debates. We don't have to put any boots on the soil. We don't have to spill any American blood. It's a great deal for America. And that, it really irritated me when I heard it. I'm like, that's the most disgusting thing you can possibly say, is you're using other people's children to weaken the Russian military infrastructure. And that's exactly what they're doing. That was the plan all along. Just throw in as many Ukrainian soldiers as you can. If it weakens Russia, all the better. And it's none of our blood. So good for us.
Let's this is another really big story. We're going to jump to this story. Before we do, smash the like button. And if you're watching right now live or otherwise, just share the show right now. Post it on social media. We really do appreciate it. And let's grab this story from the Post Millennial. Head of New York FBI field office resigns after DOJ says office hid Epstein documents. Quote, late Friday, I was informed that I needed to put my retirement papers in today, which I just did. So this was tough. Before Trump froze all aid to Ukraine, we were like, yo, we got a huge breaking story. The head of the FBI field office has resigned. The story last week was that Pam Bondi was informed by a whistleblower that the New York field office was sitting on thousands of documents related to the Epstein case and evidence and withheld that from the attorney general so that they could not be released to the public, covering up Epstein, as it were. Now the dude's being forced to resign. Of course, within like 20 minutes of us being like, it's a big story, Trump freezes aid to Ukraine, and we're like, whoa, what's going on? So this is also a massive story. I don't know what involvement this guy had, but many people have pointed out that the Southern District of New York Attorney's Office and the FBI field office have been 100% anti-Trump. targeting him, targeting his lawyers, his personnel, and saying, quote, dig in when Donald Trump got elected. So now that we're seeing that he's being forced out, one would wonder, why are they withholding Epstein documents? I believe they are. I don't trust this New York branch. Let me read a little bit of this. There's a bit of context here. Top FBI official in New York was forced to resign. James Denny, a Marine Corps veteran who joined the FBI following September 11th, informed colleagues. Late Friday, I was informed I needed to put in my retirement papers, which I just did. I was not given a reason for this decision. In the letter, he expressed regret over the sudden nature of his resignation and praised his coworkers as an office of professionals who will always do the right thing for the right reasons. Yeah, that's code, right? His exit is that sounds like code right there, right away. They would always do the right thing for the right reasons.
Well, by that rationale, the wrong things become the right things if it's done for the right reasons. So
In fact,
lie, cheat, and steal if they have to.
The question I have to that quote, which is interesting in his letter, is why would law enforcement obliged to operate within the law need to do the right thing for the right reasons? Is there an implication? The implication is one of two things. Other FBI officers are deeply corrupt, but only his is not, or he expects them to act out of line with what the FBI is charged with doing for what they perceive as you said, Viva, the right thing, doing the wrong thing, as it were. Today, we find ourselves in the middle of a battle of our own as good people are being walked out of the FBI and others are being targeted because they did their jobs in accordance with the law and FBI policy. The release of the Epstein files did not go as planned last week. Oh, boy. Certainly not. So we still have not gotten anything. It's been a weekend. We have no Epstein documents. Have there been any updates on
I haven't heard anything
nothing.
at all.
I heard, well, apparently from our chat last night, I don't know what day it is anymore, on our Sunday show, Alex Jones had been reporting that they were seen taking boxes out of the SDNY field office of the FBI.
Heard those rumors.
And everybody who doesn't know that the SDNY is the second most, if not tied for the first most corrupt district in America. The other most corrupt judicial DOJ district would be DC. My concern is I don't think they're necessarily not disclosing anything. I don't think the documents exist anymore in the possession of that field office. And I think they're probably with whoever was doing the extortion scheme from the beginning. So
yeah,
you might never see them.
You guys really expect me to believe that Trump got elected and the New York field office said, let's just put our feet in his boxes and hold them for a little while and see what happens? No. If they had documents, which I doubt they kept this long, the moment Trump got elected, they were like, where's the incinerator?
Mm-hmm. Can I tell a little story? I'm going to tell a little story.
All right.
I'm going to preface it by saying I don't believe in coincidences, okay? So I was a furniture mover for 10 years in the town of Chester, New York. And one morning on the way to work, at the diner, there were pictures of 4 missing men. Mexican men. I was like, that's crazy for 4 men to go missing. They were abducted by a guy named Nicholas Tartaglione, okay? Former cop. Turns out some drug deal gone wrong. He killed them, buried them on a pig farm in New York. Remember, that's Chester, New York, okay? Nicholas ends up going to federal prison. He's given a cell phone one day when he's put into a new jail cell. His cellmate was Jeffrey Epstein. After he got that cell phone randomly, he beat up, supposedly, Jeffrey Epstein, right? And then Epstein was moved into that new place where whatever happened. Yeah, very, very, very bizarre. James Dennehy, this guy up here, is from Chester, New York. That's just a very odd connection. New York is a very big place, and Chester is a very small place. And just the odds are... all I'm saying, I don't know about that. Maybe there's a connection there. Maybe I'm undiagnosed schizophrenic. But I think Nicholas Tartaglione needs to be looked at and kept safe by Kash Patel. He's been moved from prisons secretly. My friend Jessica House and Habit Substack is like one of the only journalists actually talking to him. They tried taking his life recently. That guy...
This is the guy that is believed was trying to kill Epstein for...
That's what they say. He says it's not the story.
The super muscular guy.
The jacked guy who became a drug dealer after being a cop in New York. That guy, I think, knows something. And the Chester connection's weird to me. The federal prison Epstein connection's obviously weird to me. And he's still out there, and they're shuffling him around the country right now.
Do we not believe that he was the one who actually Epstein?
He says the story. Well, no, Epstein was alone when Epstein supposedly went.
Sure he was.
Yeah, right. He was with other people. But Nicholas was not with him at that point.
Okay, Nicholas, he was definitely with the person who
They
was
said
killing
Nicholas
him.
beat him up, but Nicholas says that wasn't the case.
Okay. I mean, look, we're all speculating because
Yeah.
we really don't know. Security guards fell asleep. The camera broke.
Sure
Come
they
on.
did.
Sure, right?
Yeah.
But this guy's placed in a cell with Epstein, and then Epstein gets beat up. And come on.
He got a cell phone randomly in one of the most corrupt prisons. I think is actually shut down already. I think that prison, the federal
Sounds to
prison
me
is
like
gone.
this guy was sent in to take Epstein's life the first time and screwed up.
Yes. Maybe. Or they use him as a patsy. Like,
Yeah.
To use him to get
The guards
Epstein
did it.
along.
The guards
You know?
that fell asleep, are they still alive?
They're still alive. They got demoted
Yeah.
or shuffled around. No, I think the prison is still open.
I think they closed it.
it's where P. Diddy is now.
Oh, is it? I thought they closed it down. There was an article from a few years ago that said it was shut down.
No, I'm fairly certain it's where P. Diddy
Shocking.
is. And Tim, it's not guessing. Epstein did not. Epstein did not kill himself. Period. It's impossible. Set aside the coroner who said that his neck injuries were more likely that of pressure compression than from hanging, or he's still alive. That's the other.
Yeah, Megyn Kelly said on her show recently, we may soon hear from Epstein himself. And many people took that to imply she was saying she has reason to believe he's still alive. I think she's saying there's audio recordings
Probably.
of things that he said because he recorded everything. But
He's alive.
you think he's alive?
I think he's going to do his spaces with Mario Narwhal, whatever his name is.
and McAfee.
Yeah, McAfee's definitely coming back. In this season, the way things are going, McAfee's coming back. McAfee might be hunting. Epstein right now.
I disagree because the way things were going into 2020, it was very sci-fi dystopian.
Yeah.
And then with Biden, it was like Veep, but like there was very bad stuff that was happening. This season is more West Wing. It's more a serious Trump cutting the BS, securing things. This is more of an action thriller presidency. So maybe there's like some spies and some stuff, but this looks more like a drama this time around. Whereas the past last season may have been a comedy.
It feels like House of Cards. All that I have to say is like on Friday, I think Pam Bondi was the happiest person on earth because of the Zelenskyy incident, and now at least people stopped talking about her at least for 24 hours.
Yeah.
This is seemingly good news in that it might confirm what the story was from last week, which nobody believed. It will not answer to the fact that it was implausible to begin with that Pam Bondi could have believed she had the entire file.
Yeah, this will make up if there's something here. I think there is. I think that part of the FBI field office is corrupt. For sure,
as the day is long.
And this can make up for the way that I didn't really like the way they rolled out that walk of shame for the influencers. Not that I'm mad at the influencers.
No,
I
I
thought the
felt
White House
that was
set them up.
That was an absolute.
We're going to print out binders and let you walk out in front of the whole press.
And they could have walked him out any other exit.
There's like 3 other places.
They had him walk out right through where all the press was.
The GOP official sign was rickrolling people. Come on.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Come on.
It's ridiculous.
Look, I don't want to steel man that which doesn't deserve a steel man, but they might have been making what they thought was a commentary, like, look how the deep state just rickrolled these journalists and the joke got misinterpreted. But they didn't take it down when every single reply to it was, it's not too late to delete this, and they refused to delete it.
It was a horrible idea to do that. The rollout was terrible. It's unfortunate. It was an unforced error. It was a terrible idea. Nobody is happy with that at all.
It almost seems like they sabotaged some of these people.
100%.
Yeah.
I'm mad at the White House for doing it. Whoever at the White House did that.
Haya Reichik is getting roasted by left and right.
Yeah.
Because she was like doing a little shuffle dance while smiling and laughing with the Epstein binder, which turns out to have nothing in it.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing like big, prominent conservatives and liberals, like a bunch of liberals started making fun of her playing the video. This is libs of TikTok, for those that don't know.
Yeah.
I don't care that she did that. She's walking out and she's waving a binder. It's no big deal. But I'm seeing a lot of pro-Trump people being like, this is gross.
Well, the thing, like Pam Bondi was already, there were a lot of people that were critical of Pam Bondi in the first place because of her red flag law stance and stuff like that. So she was already like, people were like, I don't know. So to do this and have this as happened so early in her tenure, and there's a lot of people that were just like, this is awful, she's bad, blah, blah, blah.
Was Bondi AG of Florida while Epstein
she was AG as of 2011. The plea deal was in 2008, so she had minimal involvement, very little responsibility, if any. I had Liz Wheeler on Friday. Her explanation makes everything make sense, where when they were holding that binder with their smiling, what they were in theory thought they were doing was just poking, needling the legacy media that was not invited to this meeting. The meeting was never supposed to be about the Epstein documents to begin with, pre-scheduled, and so they come on like, haha, you're the old media now, we're the new media, and it was not about the binders. So I say it's sort of.
They also didn't know it was in them because they were told not to open them. Wait, they're under embargo. I do want to stress that despite the embargo, some people leaked it anyway.
Yeah.
But that was really, so. Look,
I was told that they knew that they were told there's no no smoking gun in it, but they were under embargo until 3:30.
That's not what I heard.
Okay.
The people that I spoke to said that they were told these are the phase 1 release, but don't show anything in the binders until after we do our announcement. And I think what they wanted the UK to do the press junket or whatever with Starmer, and they didn't want the Epstein thing to come out with a big splash until after they were done. I don't necessarily believe that. What I can say is it's absolutely hilarious working in this industry, guys. When I get contacted, of course, Mike Cernovich already said he called me and talked to me. I'm a big fan. Mike Cernovich is absolutely fantastic. And I talked with a couple of other people there because like literally everybody who walked out is a friend of the show who's been on the show, and everybody just said the same thing. You know, I told them like, look, I've been seeing this letter going around. Like, right, yeah, but you can't share it. It's under embargo. And I'm like, you got it. So I'll wait. And then other people just leaked it because they don't care. They don't care. And I'm like, that's nice guys finish last, man.
I also had that letter, and I'm like, I didn't even know if I could disclose that there was an embargo because I thought that might reveal the fact that there was an embargo. So I'm like, okay, I'll wait. I don't care to be first. I just don't want to.
And then it leaked, and you were like,
no, I couldn't have cared less. Everyone will know they can trust me. No, but my understanding was that they were told in advance. There's nothing new in here, but the breaking story is this letter, which is confirming that the SDNY is withholding information, not cooperating with AG's Bondi's orders.
They may have said that to some of the people, I suppose. From the people I talked to, they said they were just handed the binders with little or no context. They didn't know what was happening. And they were told we're going to be releasing more. And the letter, I believe, was in the front when you open it. Basically, the letter saying there's more documents coming. And then upon talking with some people involved, they were like, there is somewhat new information, but it's like what is new is meaningless. It's not what we want. It's not incriminating. It's not a smoking gun. So
it's meaningless from the Kalshi market definition of the bet or the investment, which was there was no newly previously unclassified document that was declassified. But what was new was there's AG Bondi is reprimanding the SDNY for apparently concealing and protecting for a child.
I don't think we're getting it.
I don't think we're getting it, but I do like this implication that they're going to be firing people. I mean,
oh yeah.
I don't think that I'm in agreement with Tim. I don't think that they're gonna produce anything that makes any kind of significant impact. But I do think that this is going to be a great excuse to just get rid of people that are corrupt, get rid of people in the.
If this exposes like a web of corruption, that's great. And I want to say about this guy, I listened to 2 podcasts he did on the way over, and he is like he's pro DEI and FBI type of guy. What you read earlier, Tim, about him having this battle against the Trump administration, and he also did another thing about with state troopers in New York talking about booster outreach. So he's clearly of a certain type of political persuasion that thinks he's doing the righteous thing. And so in their mind, what we see as corruption, they see as righteousness.
Let's jump to a story about the internet. We've got this from the post-millennial far-left streamer Hasan Piker suspended from Twitch after calling... I'm going to be very careful with the language on this one. Hasan Piker basically instructed people to take action that would end the life of a sitting U.S. senator. Don't do that.
It was a metaphor, Tim. You weren't supposed to take it seriously. Come on.
He certainly said it. In fact, I can't even read the statement he made. And I can't believe how many times this guy has made statements like this. And people keep saying he was banned from Twitch. No. He was temporarily suspended.
Yeah.
That's it. Twitch does not care that this dude has advocated on numerous times for direct violence. This is a crime.
The dude that runs Twitch went on Hasan's stream and sang him happy birthday on his birthday. No BS. That is legit. That actually happened. That's in the H3H3 podcast content dump. Yeah.
Before or after any number of these?
Definitely after he said that the United States deserved 9/11.
According to 18 USC 373, anyone who with the intent that another person engage in conduct constituting a felony involving the use, attempted use, or threatened use of physical force against another person in violation of U.S. law, solicits, commands, induces, or otherwise endeavors to persuade such a person to engage in such conduct can be imprisoned for up to half the maximum term. What is that? 20 years? Wow. If the crime solicited is punishable by life imprisonment or death, the individual can be imprisoned for up to 20 years. Furthermore, 18 USC 351 specifically addresses the protection of members of Congress including U.S. senators, making it a federal crime to assault, kidnap, murder these officials. This statute underscores the seriousness with which the law treats against federal legislators. I mean, you don't even need to be a senator. It's illegal to tell someone to go kill somebody else.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Arrest him.
I'm looking forward to him doing a
Let's have
podcast
justice.
with Taylor Lorenz.
I'm looking forward to him having a podcast from jail.
With Luigi Mangione.
There you go.
But it is. We were joking before, like whether or not he's a terrorist sympathizer.
There's no joke about it.
No, I know. This is beyond. They talk about dog whistles, but then you have your so-called moderate terrorists who are the ones that instigate the radicals. It's nothing shy of this man sitting on his pedestal. He's very happy with his life, so he doesn't want to ruin his own life by doing something stupid. But he wouldn't mind if he were to cause someone to tip over the edge by saying what he said. He knows damn well what it means, how it's going to be heard, what it's an instruction to his probably unhinged followers. He's a very, I'm going to quote Jerry Seinfeld, a very, very bad man. He's a very, very, very bad man. Period.
Wasn't his show kind of failing? I remember we did an episode a while back where his numbers were going down. I don't know. I've never watched anything this guy does. I've always been forced to see it on Twitter.
He's been covered recently by CNN and by Slate, trying to pump him up because the left is looking for like the left's Joe Rogan. But the problem is all the famous streamers on the left are literal communists that endorse terrorism.
Yeah.
Like Hasan has literally had Houthi pirates on. He had a translator, and there's a dude that's a Houthi pirate, and he's sitting there glazing the guy, saying like, "Oh, you know what One Piece is? Yeah, we think that you're doing what Luffy would do." Like, I guess that's a character from the manga.
That is the character.
Yeah. So
Wait, who said that? What?
Hasan said that. Hasan said to a Houthi pirate that he asked him if he knows what One Piece is, and the Houthi pirate knows what One Piece is. And Hasan told the translator to tell the pirate, tell him that we think he's doing what Luffy would do. A pirate.
For those that don't know, Luffy is a fun-loving, goofy character. For those that are familiar, similar to Goku or Naruto, for instance, in anime.
That's not helping me understand what the hell's going on right now.
What's a good American equivalent? He is a doofy, fun-loving adventurer who's trying to find the great treasure left behind by the Pirate King or whatever. He ate the gum fruit, and now he can stretch like Reed Richards or whatever. I don't know how the Houthi pirates who are blowing up vessels and killing people or anything like that.
What is a One Piece?
One Piece is the treasure.
Okay.
So I'm not a big One Piece fan. I actually rather don't like it. So I don't know as much as the average person. But what I can tell you is typically anime characters in these prominent shows, presumably One Piece, but I can speak directly for like Naruto and Goku and Dr. Stone. Dr. Stone's fantastic, by the way. Great Magic School Bus show for your kids. The heroes always convert the enemies to join their team by showing them the error of their ways. So really great story writing in Naruto, for instance. It's a graphic novel. Man, some really brutal writing. I won't get into it now because it's just a bit too esoteric, but it's really good writing where the main characters are always like, here's why you are wrong for doing what you did, and then confronting the villains who eventually change because of it. I'd love to see the Houthi pirates be convinced that what they're doing is wrong.
I mean, I don't know, but I like when bad things happen for Hasan, like getting booted. Yeah, I like the H3H3 content nuke, which I just tweeted. If you guys are interested in seeing this, it's an hour and 45 minutes long. Ethan Klein is just disassembles Hasan. He points out that he's a literal communist, that he endorses violence. He does it frequently. He points out that Twitch glazes Hasan all the time. They love him. Frogan, which is one of Hasan's moderators, she endorses all the violence too. He's anti-Semitic. He's just the absolute worst.
It is. I mean, the thing is, it's a trend now. Like you have Bill Burr doing it with lionizing Luigi Mangione, saying, like effectively calling people to do terrible things for ideological reasons. You got Hasan Piker doing. There was another guy, I don't know who it was, but saying, like someone's got to do it to Elon. Like they know what they're doing, and it's a strategy.
Samurai said, if you Google search Raphael Warnock parlor threat, this guy basically did the same thing as Hasan and got 3 years in jail. Check this out. So it's not jail, it's prison. And I Google searched it.
Yeah.
New York man
Jail's
sentenced
bad,
to
prison's worse.
Yeah, nearly 3 years in prison for threatening Ralph Warnock. His quote was, "Dead men can't pass laws." That's crazy.
Exponentially more nuanced than what Hasan Piker said.
Yep.
Wow. He did say other stuff during January 6th that I understand too, but in reference to threatening Warnock, it was that was the quote, which is.
He certainly picked a bad
say these
administration
things,
to
guys.
test these laws with, because now it's you don't have a friendly Biden, commie Kamala Harris administration.
This is why I make the argument that we live in a leftist milieu that we are so inundated with leftism that we don't even realize it. That's why you can do something just center right, and people will call you a Nazi. People will say, "Oh, you're a far right extremist," because you're like, "Oh, maybe we should decrease the amount of money we pay in taxes." That's an extreme far right extremist because we are so inundated with leftism, and you see it when it comes to the way that courts behave. People like Luigi Mangione go out and they commit actual murder, and then there are people that just line up, looking to praise the guy. Yeah.
So he got really mad at me, and I was kind of surprised he did because Dexerto tweeted, Hasanabi has been banned on Twitch. I said, it's a suspension. They call it banned, but he'll be back on shortly. It's likely to do with his calling on people to kill a sitting U.S. senator. He didn't even know Rick Scott was a senator. WTF? So in the clip of Hasan, he says, if you really cared about, Medicaid fraud or whatever, then he tells people, go do this thing. And, he said, if you care about this, you will do this thing. And, which I will not repeat. He then says, you wouldn't then put him into, what is his office? And then he Googles it. And I'm like, dude, he didn't even know that Rick Scott was a senator. He's the senator from Florida that he left the governorship. Ron DeSantis took over. Like, bro, how are you going to make an argument that he shouldn't be in a position? You didn't even know what position it was. Okay. I didn't even say that. But dude got so mad. He tweeted in response to me, Tim Pool loves that Rick Scott was caught overseeing the largest Medicare and Medicaid fraud in U.S. history and will defend the wealthy robbing you blind, just as he'll defend Mike Johnson gutting Medicaid with lies. He's not independent. He's a bald partisan hack. Yo, Hasan, you crying. Whoa, look at that emotional reaction. I didn't say nothing to you, buddy. Hasan's pissed that he got suspended. He's very angry. In response, I said, here is me landing switch and nollie hard flip. Say that. That's a switch hard flip right there. The nollie hard flip was much cleaner. Take a look at this one. Not beautiful. Yeah, nice slow-mo. That's my response to Hasan.
People don't understand how hard this is to do, Tim. Like that's. But first, hold on. Am I wrong? Like the internet seems to say that Hasan Piker's net worth is between $4 and $8 million.
I'd imagine it's higher.
How the hell is he a commie if he's the most capitalist commie out there?
He's the same kind of commie that Bernie Sanders is.
And if he's criticizing you for like defending the wealthy. Dude's freaking wealthy. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it.
Well, no. The point of his tweet, I never defended Rick Scott over this. I literally just pointed out that he got suspended, not banned, and he didn't know who Rick Scott was. He then, for some random reason, probably because he's just not a smart guy and he's a grifter liar, he says Tim Pool loves Rick Scott and will defend him. I never defended Rick Scott. Literally, bro, all I said was you likely got suspended because you called on people to do a thing. That's it. I never said anything nice about the man. I don't think I've ever actually talked about Rick Scott other than, he's running for Senate.
I don't trust him because he refuses to use capital letters, not even his name.
I don't think
he goes out of his way to use lowercase letters.
I don't think Hasan could run a mile.
You should.
He's actually. I think he's lost weight. He used to be really doughy, and now he's lost weight because, well, it's embarrassing to be that rich and have that much time on your hand.
Well, like he was recently doughy.
He was doughy like a year ago, but he spent some. He has someone come in and cook him.
He's working out with the Pirates.
Well, he's cooking him food and stuff. So yeah, he used to be very doughy. Yes.
He's related to
Cenk Uygur.
You're right.
Yeah, his nephew.
Okay. And nepotism. Nepo baby.
But one of the things Hasan did is like, dude, homie was melting down. I said, you crying? He says, I think I'll be all right, little man. And I'm like, bro, come on. Yeah. Like, let me tell you guys. So in internet trolling, the rules are you never engage in the troll, right? So for Hasan to have this emotional of a reaction, that is basically you lose. You lose.
He's right about one thing, Tim. He seems to be 6'3" by the internet, so he is much, much bigger than you.
He certainly is. I am of average height, but again, I don't think the man could run a mile. I think he sits in his chair all day and doesn't exercise. He maybe lifts. He lifts. He's got bigger. That's great. So vanity muscles, they call it vanity. I'm not kidding. That's
Can we get him out here on the show and then
I want
challenge
to see if the dude actually.
Yeah.
I bet he's not in shape.
Yeah.
I bet he's in like miserably poor shape.
Yeah. Let's get him out here.
I mean, look, I'll say this, bro.
Yeah.
Imagine not even knowing who Rick Scott was and making such a psychotic argument against the man. Like, this is a dude who went on his show and said that you would, if you cared, and then he calls for people to take this action, which is insane, like the most extreme of actions, and then says, and not put him in where is he anyway? Like, the dude could have been in a retirement home for all he knew.
Hasan is
He could have been in jail for all he knew.
Hasan is famously stupid. Like, he says dumb things all the time, and he comments on things he doesn't know anything about. Like, I mean, like I have disagreements with people like Destiny. I'm not a fan of Destiny at all, but at least Destiny's not as just mind-numbingly dumb as Hasan is. Hasan is well known for being kind of like like they call him the himbo.
Yeah, just
This is the first time Phil's ever said anything nice about Destiny.
just a casual reminder, guys. He was a pickup artist for years.
Yeah.
On YouTube.
Was he really?
He
His
did
debut
bro
on
code.
YouTube was a pickup artist.
Yeah,
Bro
that's how he
code?
got started. Yep.
Just wanted to say that. Just want to quickly drop that there.
Yeah, he talks about very misogynistic things to get his start because he just wants to be famous, and now it's like it's cool to be a leftist and blah blah blah.
You know, I defended Hasan so many times over the Sam Hyde thing, but he's a grifter. And so when the tweet is he was banned, I say actually he wasn't banned, he was suspended. His response is to just vomit all over himself, and he doesn't have the ability to control himself.
Is it one of the Orwellian permanent suspensions, or is it?
No, it's just Twitch says you're banned, and then like a week later you're unbanned.
yeah.
It's just so everybody understands, it wasn't a metaphorical, like, when Joe Biden said lock him up, politically lock him up. This was sort of like a termination. And
Hasan said, if you care about X, you will do Y.
Yep.
Which is a direct call to action.
Yep.
It's all things aside, if it were anybody remotely right of center, they'd be in jail by now.
Absolutely. And it's again, this is because of the whole leftist milieu that we live in. I totally do.
And just before anyone in the chat says now Viva Frei doesn't support free speech, it never covered threats. Calls to imminent violence against a specific person.
Can I ask-
but they didn't
Super
say
don't
when.
care.
Can I ask real quick, like, because I like that they say these things. I like when Taylor Lorenz does it. I like knowing exactly how they feel. Does he have to put like a timestamp on it of when this should happen for it to actually cross that line?
No, that's the thing. Like, it has to be identifiable. It has to be specific.
Right.
Does it have to mention at high noon? Certainly not, based on the precedent of the other guy.
True.
Listen, he said, if you care about X, you will do Y.
Mm-hmm.
He's got, what does he get, like 20,000 live viewers on his show? He gets hundreds of thousands of views. How many of them are going to go, he's right, I do care about X. Better go do Y. That is a call to action. That is a call for someone to go commit a crime.
Yeah.
I just have a tough time wanting to prosecute it. Like, I think it's disgusting. But because the same people could be like, they look at Trump, they hate Trump, and he says we got to go fight, and it's a vague statement. And you look at those people.
It's the difference between saying
But they
like
would see
I
that.
want to kill
I don't
someone's
care.
reputation versus I want to take out the word reputation. I mean, they're not comparable. It's not fuzzing the waters here. It's just
And Trump
objective.
said there's going to be a bloodbath in the auto market, and they said Trump threatens violence.
Yeah,
So Trump could literally be like, I'm going to make a bunch of beautiful cupcakes for everybody. And like, does cupcake mean murder? Trump said cupcakes, but we know what he really means. Right. So when Hasan comes out and literally says, hey, if you like this, go do that. Yeah, come on. Like,
I just think
it's overt.
They're so bloodthirsty on the left. They interpret it so differently.
So what? Who cares?
Yeah.
I don't care if a moron looks at the color, a post that's green and goes, I think that's blue. I don't know.
Right.
No,
Like, okay, well, you're dumb.
There will be hell to pay. No. You will suffer. No. Go take someone's life. Yes. I mean, that's...
No. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. That's it was the 4-letter word for take someone's life.
So how do we have that precedent of that guy that we just pulled up with Warnock with such a vague...
Well, they have there's no question that they've abused and expanded of what qualifies as a direct threat. It was the Brandenburg, the case where they said we're going to go find a specific group of people and kill them, and that was protected speech. It wasn't sufficiently specific to an identifiable person. This was like, it's him. Do it.
Right.
And he would have been very happy had it happened.
And what did Taylor Lorenz say? Because
hers was a little more nuanced. I forget what the exact quote for Taylor Lorenz was. Not to defend her, but it was a little more nuanced.
She
said everybody wants this to happen or something like that.
Okay.
Everybody except for like Luigi Mangione is more nuanced than Hasan.
No, I got to pause you there because it's actually I'm not convinced Luigi Mangione is the guy.
Oh, really?
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean on the left, they're like one of the biggest debates, or I should say, the left is defending Luigi under the argument it's not him. And so the conspiracy that leftists are pushing, conservatives on the right are just like, condemn him. We don't actually know if it's him or not. All we know is he got arrested. And I got to tell you, we all ran the show when it first happened. He does not look like the security footage where the guy's got thin eyebrows and he's got a big unibrow. And so when we saw the footage, I was like, that's not... When the first video came out, photo of Luigi Mangione, I said, that doesn't look like the right guy. And so what happened was, video comes out of the shooting, person of interest is identified in a photo. Mm-hmm. Everyone tweets the suspect. And I said, no. Person of interest is not a suspect. They said suspect. Mm-hmm. This could be a guy who bumped into him. You could be getting the wrong guy. And I said, besides, they don't even look like each other.
Yep.
Then they claimed it was him and he did it. On the left, they're saying there's reason to believe it's not actually him. So I carry that because you don't know what's going to come up in the court case.
No. My understanding is that the left is not saying he might be innocent because it might not be him. They're saying he did it and it was justified. That was sort of my understanding for why the left is saying
no.
It was a righteous act.
There are many on the left, predominantly, that just say they wear Luigi hats. They say we need Luigi, things like that. But the right is largely ignoring the story, and only on the left is there a subset that's entertaining that Luigi Mangione is not actually the shooter.
I was mildly cynical. Like it's Minority Report, like orgy of evidence. They find the guy at a McDonald's. He's got a backpack with a manifesto with the way. I was like, I could totally understand. He might be a mentally unwell individual, easy to frame as the patsy. And so it's due process and it applies to everybody. But no, as far as I'm concerned, the people who are defending him on it being a righteous act.
Sure, and they're wrong.
They're wrong.
But I'll tell you, don't forget, when the story first broke, we, as well as many others, were saying, that's not the guy. He looks very different. He's wearing a different coat. He's wearing a different backpack, a different hood, and he's got bushy eyebrows.
I floated the theory that it was a CIA skin mask, and everyone got so mad. I didn't say the CIA did it. I said a CIA skin mask, right? I wasn't saying they were going out and doing it, but you've seen those masks, right?
Oh, yeah. No, there was one that went viral. It's like,
right.
Absolutely.
There's new ones that aren't even like the old school CIA ones that are like some fabric, and they look great, So I think we don't know, and I'm looking forward to seeing the evidence when it's.
Let's jump to this next story. We got this one from The Hill. We're going to give a shout out to our good friend Bill Maher. Bill Maher says Democrats will lose every election without a shift on trans issues. I love how The Hill just really avoids saying what he actually said, because Bill Maher does not use the kind of language. Bill Maher's a bit more crass than that. But Bill Maher was having a debate with Pod Save America's John Lovett, and he basically said, I'll give you a quote, "You want to lose every election? Just keep coming down to the side of parents coming in second, and who gets to decide what goes on with my kid contest." Lovett responded that he was not talking about winning or losing elections. "I agree that there's salience to the issue. I agree this has been weaponized, but I'm just talking about the issue itself." Bill Maher basically said, if Democrats don't drop the gender ideology stuff, they will never win another election. He is correct, but Democrats are a cult, okay? Guys, can I just give you a simple, okay? When did Democrats start supporting the military-industrial complex?
When Donald Trump got elected.
When Donald Trump got elected. And I don't mean the politicians, because they always did. But these progressive leftists like Kyle Kalinske, how is Kyle Kalinske pro-military industrial complex? This is a guy whose whole career was like the war machine is bad. Now he's cheering and bashing his face on the table as hard as he can, screaming Slava Ukrainia. And I'm like, what? It's a cult. These people, their brains are jello.
It's
okay,
just anti-Trump.
And they also see the military-industrial complex and the government in general as their parent. Well,
what I'm saying is, I get that. There's only one explanation for how someone like Kyle Kalinske, who spends his whole career ragging on the war machine, now all of a sudden in support of it, along with Hasan Piker. They love Daddy War Machine now because it doesn't matter what the issue is. It matters that they're adhering to the social orthodoxy. That's what I call wokeness. They're just marching in lockstep with whatever the social orthodoxy is, and Kyle Kalinske is now pro-war. Yeah. It's psychotic. I digress. This is why Democrats will not give up the gender issue. Despite the fact that it is deeply unpopular, every single poll shows it to be unpopular. They won't walk
For
away.
them to give it up, they'd have to accept that they've been abusing kids gleefully.
Yeah, I mean there's a lot of people that have made really bad decisions that are never gonna actually say, oh, this is wrong, because to do that would require them doing some some soul searching and be like, wow, I really was endorsing the mutilation of children.
Right.
I imagine when there were people, when people realized that a lobotomy was actually a terrible procedure to do. I imagine there were a lot of people that until their dying day were like, no, it was right. All the lobotomies we did, they needed it. And
Maybe Hasan should try it.
I had a conversation with a friend of mine who's like, what people need to understand is the average person who's like left or right is actually not really either. They don't really pay attention. So it's funny because the liberals get super angry when I say, like, I have a bunch of friends who are like liberal lefty. Well, who doesn't? I mean, I've got family members who are liberal lefty. We talk all the time. But I was talking to a friend of mine who is moderately left, but not politically active. So, they're not paying attention to the news or watching anything like this. And they were telling me how they were upset that Trump was suspending these things. And, they think it's bad if the kid's got to get medical care. And I just was like, why are we affirming a mental disorder? The response I got was, it's not a mental disorder. And I was like, no, it's in the DSM-5. It's a mental disorder. Like, I didn't make that up. Like, the diagnostic for standards of medicine, whatever it is says it's a mental disorder. But why do we affirm this one and not any of the other ones? And I got kind of just like kind of a blank stare. And I said, no, for instance, like genital body dysmorphia. Like when someone says, my hand is not my hand, the doctor doesn't cut it off.
Well, there was a person who actually found someone to blind them because they said I identify as a blind person. But anorexia is the easiest example to illustrate. I feel fat. Oh, you are fat. You should go throw up some more. Or that's bulimia. But like, if someone were anorexic and said, I feel fat, I look in the mirror and I feel fat, you would not affirm that. You would
the inverse.
You would not legislate the inability of psychiatrists and psychologists to treat that. You have to say, you have to affirm their identity that they feel fat. No, because they're killing themselves. And in this case, they're mutilating themselves.
And I got no response. And I said that in a good way, in that I believe they started to question why they were advocating for affirming what is classified in the DSM-5 as a mental disorder. I explained, too, the reason it's in there is because the activists want it in there so they can get prescription medicine. Because if it's removed as a mental disorder and no longer can be, if it can't be a diagnosed mental disorder, then you can't get treatment for it. So it needs to be in there. But then we asked the question of, do we affirm pica? You know what pica is? When people eat non-edible objects, inedible objects. So famously, people eat hair a lot.
There's a guy who ate an airplane once.
Ate a whole airplane.
Yeah, I think over time.
I saw a magician once eat glass. I recommended he not do that, but he insisted, and it was a magic trick. But in all seriousness, there are people who eat coins. Imagine a person is eating coins, and you're like, hey, man, you do you. It's like, no, we don't. We say like, hey, that's really bad. You should stop doing that.
Yeah, the hair in particular, the human body can't digest hair, so there's a number of cases where it grows into abscesses in the body. It usually accompanies trichotillomania.
What is that?
That is when you compulsively pull out hair. So people pull them out, and then they eat them.
Yeah.
Ew.
But did you notice? I think they redefined gender dysphoria, and now they've added the if you are uncomfortable with your body and identify as another whatever, and it causes discomfort, so that there can be people that say, it doesn't cause me discomfort, therefore it's not a diagnosable mental illness. And I think that was the most recent modification that they added to it.
Mental disorder.
Cope. What did I call it?
Illness.
Sorry. And I say this as someone who has various mental disorders, some might say.
I do think there's a distinction I think mental illness and mental disorders are actually different things.
I can understand one is a chemical, I would say chemical imbalance versus...
No idea.
I would say schizophrenia, I would call a mental illness. OCD, I would call a mental disorder.
Right, I think.
But I'm not even sure how I define that. Bottom line, I'm fairly certain they redefined it now so that it's broad. It's more specific, so that it's not gender dysphoria unless it causes discomfort. And so all that people have to say now is, I'm happy like this, so therefore it's not a mental condition that requires any form of treatment. Empower me to play sports against women.
I'm happy that
I think that it actually is it goes further than that. Most of the people that, if I understand correctly, the majority of people that actually are transgender or trans men, so women that believe or want to be men, are actually more common than trans women. And there are different reasons for for women and men to want to be trans. Women, it tends to be like a body dysmorphia thing, whereas men, there are more varied and sinister reasons why they want.
Not family friendly.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but we shouldn't, as a society, we can allow for people to do this. We can make sure, like, we can make room for them, but we definitely we shouldn't be supporting it. We shouldn't be changing laws for trans people or making special laws for trans people. We shouldn't, and we definitely should be prosecuting doctors that would do any kind of operations on children.
And also shouldn't be funding all of it overseas.
100%. No, absolutely
Well,
not.
I mean, one of the crazy things is that Trump has that executive order basically saying we're going to cut funding from you if you're promoting this at your university or schools or whatever. They're still doing it.
Oh yeah, they want
All these schools and universities, they haven't stopped.
Oh, the Maine governor there, where she had her face off with Trump.
Maine?
Yeah.
I forget her name, but she's like, well, yeah, we're not going to follow this, and he says, well, you're not going to get any more federal funding.
Yeah.
So congrats. It's not a question of tolerating. Like, everybody can do what they want as adults. Where it becomes an issue is, your freedoms end where my nose begins. And so do what you want. And more power to you, no judgment whatsoever. But it doesn't extend to kids. And it doesn't extend.
You can do what you want, but we can judge a little.
No, you can't do what you want as an adult. That's not true.
You can do what you want to the extent that it doesn't impact somebody else. So a man who believes that he wants to dress up as a woman is fine, but cannot compete. And a parent who thinks their kid, who's 14 years old, should go get a double mastectomy is a big no.
Incorrect.
Go on, sir.
Adults aren't allowed to do lots of things. There are a lot of things that you're not allowed to do to yourself that don't impact others. We have laws.
I'm thinking you're going to go to drugs.
Drugs is the easy one.
Well, no, but drugs I disagree with, because I think by partaking in the drug trade, you're necessarily doing things to others by supporting the cartels.
What if you're growing some plants in your backyard of your own business?
That would be okay, fine. But then that would be that. Well, first of all, I do happen to agree with that. You want to smoke weed, except if you're going to smoke and drive. But set aside drugs. What other one?
In terms of general body dysmorphia, you cannot perform surgeries on yourself. You'll get 5150'd.
Yes, but you can find someone who will cut your tongue down the middle or set implants in your skull.
Not
and make
remove
you
a
look
hand.
There was the woman. I got to find. I don't know who did it
I know,
to the woman who blinded the woman.
And there are people who suffer from body dysmorphia where they will stage accidents. So there have been stories where people have gone to doctors and said, I need my arm removed. It's alien to my body. I'm telling you, it's not my arm. And they say, absolutely not. So then their car jack breaks and their car lands on their arm, and oh no.
That requires a certain degree of dedication. Holy crap.
I mean, these people are suffering from a DSM-5 mental disorder.
Yeah.
Well, up in Canada that with the conversion therapy ban, which was wholly supported by the so-called Conservative Party, medical practitioners, psychiatrists, psychologists can't talk someone out of it. So they can only affirm a mental condition, and they cannot try to treat it.
Which is why MAID is so popular.
Yeah, it's number 3, 4 leading cause of death.
If you'd like to go down the list of things I'm not allowed to do, if you live in a suburban environment, you're not allowed to play music. Too noisy. It affects others.
Yeah, but that runs like I'm not allowed having chickens where I live. But
That's right. That's wrong.
Yeah, except the noise would irritate the neighbors.
Roosters, not chickens. Why do they ban chickens? You can hens.
So this was the question my wife asked. Do chickens? I know they go like they do that purring noise, but they don't annoy the neighbors.
They don't yell. Well, to be fair, chickens do make noises. They are noisy. They do the egg song.
What's that? How's that go?
It's different for every chicken, but they'll just basically bagok, bagok, bagok over and over and over again.
See, the discussion I was having with my wife is, if we get a few chickens, will the neighbors know? Because the HOA are a bunch of fascists, and they're going to come down on us with an iron fist.
I'm not allowed to install a deck on my house. I'm not allowed to put in another toilet. I'm not allowed to put a window in my house. Like, I'm not allowed to redo my basement. Like,
yeah, but I can make the argument that could potentially tangentially affect somebody else, a guest, a visitor, whatever, who comes in and trips and falls. You can do whatever you want in your body. I mean,
that's crazy.
Well, I mean, I'm just trying to steel man the argument here. But like, in terms of body self-mutilation, people can cut themselves. They can scar themselves.
You can't remove body parts.
Yeah, because I believe. I wonder if you could do it to yourself, but not find a doctor.
If someone shows up at the hospital who's removed their hand somehow, is that immediate? You're taken away.
You should definitely be looked at.
You're probably going to get 5150'd.
Yeah.
They're going to say you are clearly a risk to yourself and others.
Yeah.
And they're going to involuntarily commit you.
Yeah. I had a roommate who wanted to do that.
Jeez.
Crazy person. Yeah. He used to hide the knives.
It's amazing. Cutting off the hand is crazy, but cutting off the boobies or the schmeckle, and then all of a sudden it's gender identity.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll actually fund it with your tax dollars.
To be fair, there are a lot of other things that are illegal. They're still in the books, though most states don't enforce against these things. Okay, I'll give you a family-friendly example. In West Virginia, cohabitation is a crime. No cop is going to arrest a guy for living with his girlfriend, but it is illegal.
I should start. Bring it back. Let's bring it back.
Isn't that wild? Like, they actually enforced this up until like probably the early 1900s.
Yeah.
I mean, it was probably still frowned upon and seemed as odd in the 40s and 50s.
For sure.
If in West Virginia you are dating a woman and you go and live in her house or she in yours, that is a crime in the state.
That's how you make America great again.
It's a crime.
Well, okay, I mean, as far as the story goes, and you say the cult thing, in terms of why they can't abandon this, I'm not sure about that. I think there's a lot of, especially Kyle Kalinske, I don't think it's cultish. I actually think it's genuine opportunism. And this is where slowly you paint yourself in a corner and then you have no choice but to double down, triple down, not because of sincere belief. His wife is Crystal Ball, right?
Yeah.
Okay, like, there's nobody on earth who can be sincerely that stupid or that, I will say stupid. Like, putting out views where I think it's rage baiting, clickbaiting. I think she's backed herself into so far of a corner that there's you can't get a normal job after that, so you just have to make as much as you can in the time. I think that's where they're at.
Like CNN.
Like CNN. When it comes to the parents who will never be able to admit that they irreparably harmed their children, probably as a result of their own mental conditions and not that of their child, because this is like transgender syndrome by proxy. They will never admit it. They can't. Same thing with the parents who may have given their kids the jab and bad things happened. But I think they're going to be relegated to such a vocal minority that at some point, on the one hand, everyone's going to break ties with them. But then the problem is everyone's going to break ties with them, and then they're going to go from being a vocal minority to potentially something worse, which we've already started seeing a lick of out in Portland and in various places in America. They're going to start getting more active in terms of asserting themselves.
Yep.
Let's jump to this story, and we'll try and keep it light. This one's pretty crazy. So before we do, smash that like button, of course, and share the show. If you really like the work that we do, give us a little share on social media. This is from Cointelegraph. Streamer Amaranth claims she was robbed at gunpoint over crypto fortune. In November, Amaranth, real name Caitlin, revealed that she owned around 211 Bitcoin worth over $20 million. So she announced that in November.
That's an error.
That is a big mistake. And so I don't know if this has been confirmed or not. There's videos that were posted of it. Late at night on March, a popular streamer, they keep saying whose real names, I don't care, made a series of posts on X saying she was subject to a home invasion by robbers who wanted crypto, is what they were yelling. In November, she posted a screenshot from her Coinbase account showing she held around 211 Bitcoin, which was worth around $20 million at the time. The screenshot also showed she held around 80,000 in Ether. That's not a lot of Ether. She posted, relative to her 20 million in Bitcoin. She posted an update on March 3rd, hours after the initial X post, where she said there were 3 gunmen, adding a video presumably from a security camera. After allegedly leading the 3 men to another section of the property, 3 loud noises ring out, and the men run off camera. One of the guys is yelling, I think he's yelling, I got shot. Yeah, this is crazy. Known for being open about her finances, appearing on YouTube stuff, et cetera, et cetera.
It's
a wild story.
There's open about your finances, and then there's showing that you have $20 million of the most easily transferable, theftable asset on Earth. I mean, and then there's flexing, and then there's rubbing in other people's faces. That's
no, I disagree. Those guys weren't going to get away with that money. No way.
It depends if they get out of the country beforehand. I mean, it's first of all, just letting people that you know that you have Bitcoin or substantial portions of Bitcoin, you turn yourself into an absolute target. I mean, of the highest order, you or friends and family. I have a beautiful meteorite fossil, not a fossil, but a meteorite at my place, and I show it off. I'm like, man, if someone wants that meteorite, they know where to come and get it. But like to say that you have Bitcoin, which is just a button away, and then you're deleted, but
you're not. The transaction is on the public ledger forever, and anyone can track who took the money and where they spent it. And immediately the feds come kicking your door, and especially with a home invasion like this. So if these guys...
How fast would it take? Sorry, how long would it take you to convert that into cash if you go to like a Bitcoin depot or a bank?
Oh, bro, $20 million? A very, very, very long time. Good luck. You're not going... So here's what they would have had to have done, and I doubt these guys are that sophisticated. Actually, you know what? I'm going to pause. I'm not going to advise on how they could get away with something like this by explaining how it could be done. Let me just say, the guys who went to her and then tried to get, presuming they said, transfer this money to us, we are stealing it, they would never get away with it. They would never get away with it. Life in prison. I believe, should this prove to be true, I have no reason to believe that she's making these things up. She posted a ton of video of it. But again, it's still very early. These guys would have killed her. No question. Because you think about $20 million cash. It's a lot of money. You just invaded someone's home, threatened their life with a gun to their head.
Pistol whipped, apparently.
Pistol whipped her. You are looking at the rest of your life in prison. You're not getting out.
Yep.
These three guys. So you have to understand what these guys are probably thinking when they're like, transfer the money. They're going to kill her after they get the money. That minimizes the likelihood they get caught. That being said, Bitcoin is a public ledger, and the moment they transfer any money anywhere, everyone in the world, anyone in the world with the slightest ability in tracking the public ledger is going to know who received the money and who took the money. And there are a lot of anonymous accounts, but I will say this. First, the feds know every single address and who it's attached to. Mm-hmm. Sorry, cry more. It's a fact. Would they actually intervene in this regard? Maybe not. However, private investigators, private individuals could easily track these guys down. They'd never get away with it. There are some moves they could make to obfuscate it, which I'm not going to explain because I feel like it could just help bad people. But for the most part, the moment they make a transaction, let me explain something to you guys. Bitcoin's on the public ledger. This is why Zcash and Monero were invented. These are other cryptocurrencies that can mix up. There are accounts that have tried to bypass this, but we are so past the point, man. They've tried making Bitcoin addresses to bundle up Bitcoins and then disperse them in random areas to try and obfuscate where they're coming from and where they're going. It is not complicated for any modern AI system to look at all of the addresses and then create a map of who is receiving money for what. It's just, and not to mention with cell phone data, have a nice day, dude. They know who you are. They know all of your addresses. There's a dude named Weave. His hacker name is Andrew Onheimer. Some journalists just tracked various addresses and then isolated the account they believed to be his based on location, time of transfers. They figured out it was in Ukraine, and they found this guy. And I could be getting the story wrong, but like we have seen, he ingested over $1 million this year in donations through various addresses funneling in. And there's no name on these addresses, but they do really simple things like, where is the person we're looking at located? Then you track time of day of common transactions. Now you know the time zone they're in. Instantly you'll know, you're going to start piecing these things together. So for the most part, any sufficiently interested private researcher or government is going to immediately find out who took your money. Now doesn't mean you're getting the money back. Right. They could transfer it out, but these guys weren't going anywhere after this.
It seemed like you have to plan out something way more smarter than what they were doing. Because the video we saw seemed like just some guys running in real quick.
You can't live in the United States after this.
Right.
But
are
these
just
guys
crazy people then?
No, they're just stupid. They don't get it.
Yeah.
They don't understand.
They think it's like a bank robbery. You smash glass and then steal the jewels and then you make off. But it's not as, what is it, fungible?
How are you going to transfer out all this money from Coinbase? I mean, not only that, but I have to wonder that Coinbase, is that what they said? They said she revealed that her Coinbase account.
Actually, hypothetically, if it were on a hard, I can't pretend that I know what I'm talking about. If it's on a hard wallet, they steal her hard wallet with her whatever password, and then, I mean, where they're going to get to them is with the crime.
Where do you send the money? Russia? Mm-hmm. And then you have someone redirect funds in another direction. Any sufficiently interested investigator or government agency is going to easily figure this out. Like, it's. Have you ever heard of Death Note?
Yeah,
the manga. Mm-hmm. Trump's in it.
I didn't know.
So, Death Note is one of the most popular manga ever. One of the popular anime shows. It's about a kid who a Shinigami, means death god in Japan, drops a notebook in the real world, and if you write someone's name in it, they die. You can write how they die within reason. It has to be possible. And who cares about that? They released what's called a one-shot update to the series when Trump got elected, and Trump is in it. And in this, a kid gets a copy of the Death Note, which allows you to write anyone's name in it. They die. It's a god weapon. And he announces through anonymous online whatever, I live in Japan. We're going to sell this. We're going to sell this Death Note to the highest bidder. Donald Trump bid something like $60 trillion. America must have the notebook. But then they all say, there's no way you're getting the money. He then instructs the United States to deposit $5 million cash into the bank account of every single Japanese citizen. That way, nobody knows who the actual person was who was selling it because everybody got the money equally. That's the way you have to obfuscate things like this. You steal $20 million, you walk away with a few $1,000s a month because there's no way you're gonna get the IRS coming down on you when they know so you're spending the money. If you've got $20 million, someone's going to come for you.
Now I'm curious about this Death Note thing. Was Trump's name added to that before July 13th?
Well, he survived.
No, I know, but that's like I'm thinking like there's been a rift
No.
in whatever the premise of this theory was.
If you write a name in the Death Note, they will die. They'll have a heart attack instantly, no matter what. Not instantly. It's like within 28 days or what is it? Something like that.
I've never heard of this, but this sounds like.
But they put Trump in it. It was a big deal. It went viral among basically everybody. So
When do you know the date when they put Trump in it?
I don't know. Was it like 2017 or 18 or something?
Okay. That's a long
Oh,
It was everyone because Death Note was such a big deal. When they announced they were releasing an update, like it's called a one-shot, like epilogue or whatever, with Trump in it. Everyone's like, "What?"
It's a ripoff of the Dead Zone or the Twilight Zone from back in the day where they give a button to somebody and they say, you push this button, somebody on Earth will die. You don't know who, you'll never know who, and we give you $10,000. And then the punchline is at the end, after the woman pushes the button, they take the box, say, thank you, here's your money, and we're going to go give it to somebody else, and don't worry, you won't know who they are. Bada bing, bada boom. Okay.
Kind of. Here you go. Take a look. This is Ryuk, a death god, handing the Death Note to Donald Trump.
Wow.
Yep.
That's not a flattering depiction of Donald Trump. I don't like that at all.
Well,
I would call it unflattering.
I couldn't expect them to actually make a flattering picture of Donald Trump.
When these images first got released, people didn't believe it was real. There's no way. Yep. Trump buys the Death Note for some ridiculous amount of money.
I wonder whose name Trump would write in there first.
It was for $500 billion. That's what it
Who
was.
does Donald Trump hate the most?
$500 billion.
I think a lot of people.
Trump bought the Death Note. There you go. It's really small. We'll zoom in.
don't think
There's
it would be-
old Donald Trump.
I don't think it would be Sleepy Joe Biden. I don't
No,
think
he's
so.
already
Now,
dead.
hold on. If another totally stupid question, if everything on the Bitcoin ledger is publicly accessible, why are they not able to determine who Satoshi is?
Because the accounts haven't moved.
They have not moved since.
Jack.
It's Jack.
The leading theory right now is that it's Jack Dorsey.
How much would it be? How much would it be worth?
What is it, like 100 billion or something? What is it, 1 million coins in the first wallet or something like that?
It hasn't moved, meaning nobody's touched it, transferred, withdrawn, or whatever. So it's
It's
just wealth sitting out there.
It's an inactive account or wallet. And really, like all
$58 billion.
the way it works is you actually just have a code that allows you to move stuff around to make changes to the blockchain. It's not like when you have like your keys are just actually a way so you can change the ledger because the blockchain is just a ledger.
Right.
It's just written ins and outs. You're not actually holding on to like some kind of like actual.
You're
coin.
basically sending your password to a system saying, I have access to this, and I'm saying these go here. And then all these other computers start checking to make sure your password's correct. And they're like, this adds up, move them. And then the coins get transferred.
So conceivably, Satoshi could be dead, and that money is never going to get touched.
Absolutely. And furthermore, I had like 20 Bitcoin lost on a laptop. I had 21 point something on a laptop, and it got destroyed in a fire.
I would never get over that, ever. I'm not a superficial person. My goodness, I think sometimes once I lost $100 bill, still haven't gotten over that.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch, Tim.
That's why it's crazy to me that she has so much Bitcoin. Because I'm like, wow. Because I got my first Bitcoin at 70 cents.
Wow.
And yeah, and it hits $5 and I sold them all. And then I got a bunch more and then hit $20 and I sold them all. I remember it was like $100 and I was like, yeah. And then I sold them all. And then finally, when it got to like 1,000, I was like, I better just buy a bunch of these things. And I certainly do not have that much. And I'm just looking at her like, I'm jealous. Like, damn. I could have.
Did you announce how much you have like she did?
No. But I certainly don't have that much. Holy crap. Yeah, I have substantially less than that. We'll put it that way. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm lying. 'Cause I'm worried about someone breaking into my house and killing
Tim's
me.
not Satoshi.
No, Satoshi is my friend. Jack Dorsey. Look it up. You should look into this.
That's actually.
I've heard that theory.
When you actually look at the evidence that they have, it's
Right.
yeah, it's as good as any other evidence they have.
I thought people said it was Elon too. I see people say that on Twitter.
I don't think that there's the evidence that it was Elon, but like when you read through the evidence of it being Dorsey, it's
compelling.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not saying that I have a take on it really either way, but
has he ever been asked? Like, does he have a reaction?
I think he has, and he's answered cryptically.
Yeah,
it would be worth $58 billion.
I believe.
Okay,
the first, but Satoshi has a number of wallets.
Okay, I would say like it would be less likely to be Elon because there would be no problem of disclosing that wealth or using it, so there'd be no reason not to use it.
No, that's not true.
Why?
Finding out who started this, who has access to these wallets, I probably can't articulate it as well as the average person, but you're likely going to get apprehended by governments. There's the guy who made the Liberty dollars. He went to prison. So whoever is responsible for creating this,
I see. Okay.
The U.S. government might come after you.
Right.
I will come after you like they're coming after Roger Ver, but for different reasons. See, I'm totally Bitcoin illiterate. I've heard everybody explain it. I still don't understand it. I never will understand it.
The reason why I don't, Elon and Jack make a lot of sense. If you are already a billionaire, you don't need to move your money in crypto. Mm-hmm. If you were an individual who made $60,000 a year and came up with this idea to make a cryptocurrency, you came up with the idea like, what if we just used like encryption to create digital scarcity? And then you did. And you're sitting there now and you make $250,000 a year and you're looking at $100 billion and you're like, I can't spend it. See, that someone would crack and they'd be like, I made this. But for someone like Dorsey, if he really did make it, he's like, I've already got $300 million in cash sitting around, so I don't need to touch it. What would I buy? Mm-hmm. So Bitcoin's really easy to explain. All right.
I dare you, Tim.
Okay. There is a password, right, that you have. Okay. Everybody is running a program on their computers that basically is like bankofamerica.com. And when you want to have money, you say, I have two passwords, my public address, my account number, and then I have a password to log in. So you tell everybody, here's my account number. You can put money in my account. They do. You then have a password, and you can log in and move the money that appears in your account. That easy. The only difference is that Bank of America servers are running on a private company's data center, and Bitcoin is running on every random computer that wants to run the program.
You just lost me there. I'm done.
You really get lost by that?
I'm telling you. Yeah. Well, the one thing that I understand where I said, if it's a...
You play World of Warcraft?
No.
You know what World of Warcraft is?
No. I know what Super Mario Brothers and Contra is.
Okay.
Is World of Warcraft a video game or a card game?
It's a video game.
No.
Have you ever used America Online?
AOL?
Yeah.
I'm familiar with the name.
So everybody logs in, right? And then you can talk to each other. Congratulations. That's the basic function. There you go. That's Bitcoin.
That's fair enough. Okay, fine. All that I understand now is that when I ask the question, like, if it has no inherent value and you can't print more of them, but you can mine more of them, then why is it worth anything? And then someone said, well, you basically just described fiat currency as well. So why is there any value to money, especially if it's not tied to gold? But then even if
so first, there's a program, right? The program dictates how many Bitcoin there will be. Very simple. There will be 21 million. We're at 19 million already.
Something like that, yeah.
It's to get a block or whatever, which is Bitcoin. What is a miner? You are running a computer trying to guess a number. Simple way to describe it. The computer says, I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 700 billion. Whoever guesses it will get 7 Bitcoin or whatever. The number goes down every couple of years. Is a halvening, where the number, you don't need to understand any of this stuff to know how Bitcoin operates. This is just the nitty gritty stuff. Every so often, I think now it's 3 Bitcoin, 3 point something. I could be wrong. Every couple of years, the amount of Bitcoin you receive from solving an equation reduces. Everybody's running big rigs trying to solve equations to win blocks in the ledger, in the blockchain. So that means, why does Bitcoin have value? It's backed by electricity. How much electricity does it take to solve an equation? Let's say it was $100. I spend $100 on my electric bill for my GPUs to solve this equation and generate 1 Bitcoin. I cannot sell that Bitcoin for less than $100 because of the cost to produce it. There you go. So the price can only go up because of natural attrition. Bitcoins get lost, disappear, and can't be recovered. And because every couple of years, the amount of Bitcoin you receive versus the amount of energy you put in goes down by half. So we do see a price doubling periodically. Theoretically, if we get to that point, which we're not going to get to the end of Bitcoin, 21 million, I think it's like 100 and something years. So all that really matters is it is a false scarcity created by cryptography. There is a password on each coin that you have that could be assigned to you, and for this reason, it cannot be copied unless someone has your password and they could hack the system or whatever. But that's not. There you go. And so it's digital scarcity. There you go.
Well, that actually answers the environmental question, right? I at first didn't understand why people were saying like it's not green to Bitcoin, because I understand actually the running internet to try to solve the equation.
But they're setting up mines at waterfalls and hydro plants, so they get basically just dirt cheap energy.
That's wild.
All right, everybody, we're gonna go to Super Chat. Smash the like button. Share the show with everyone you know. Join Rumble Premium, that uncensored call-in show. I got a couple special ones for you. We're going to talk a little bit more about the Amaranth story, because we do have some other stuff that's not so family-friendly. So we got video, and it's pretty dang interesting. That's going to be at rumble.com/Timcast IRL. Use promo code TIM10. Sign up now. And if you want to call into the show, go to timcast.com and join the Discord server. 20,000 plus people building community, launching podcasts, calling into the show. Here we go. Michael Brown says, hi, good people. Howdy. Alpha Turkey says, the float of Elon in Germany is the final straw. I've seen enough. The U.S. is the last stand of Western values. Pull out of NATO now. Interesting. Jason Dixon says, can I please get a shout out to your Discord and the podcast that comes from this community? We are networking. The Quiet Part podcast is from your Discord. Shout outs. That's right. Go to timcast.com right now. Click join us. Sign up. You will get access to our Discord community of over 20,000 individuals. If you're wondering how to go beyond just watching this show, you watch the show, you say there's really interesting stuff. How do I get involved? Timcast.com Discord. Because there's over 20,000 people hanging out. More than that now. They've launched podcasts. They're working on video games. They're making comic books, art, movies, etc. You can get active in this community, and that's what we're hoping you do. If everybody who is watching right now signed up, got in the Discord server, started working with other people to build and network, we'd win the midterms. We'd win 2028 easy. The issue is people who, and it's not meant to be disrespectful, but a lot of people are passive. They'll watch the news and they'll say, good to know. And they don't do anything much beyond that. All I'm saying is make friends with other people in whatever way you can. The Discord server is just one way to do that. We've got staff who help run it and bring people in. And it's one way to go one step beyond just being a passive observer and being an active player in the news stories. So there you go, Jason. All right.
I just went to look up the image of the float. They seem to have, in Germany, depicted Elon as, can I say the swastika? It was apparently carrying a swastika.
Yeah, I thought it was illegal in Germany, but apparently if you're dunking on Elon Musk, it's not so illegal.
I want to make sure I understand the context of it before commentating, but I just went to see what was on there. Libs of TikTok had retweeted it, so it's...
All right, Kane Abel says, Tim, when are we going to see arrests? All we see is them resigning and nothing else. The AG Bondi needs to arrest these criminals to show transparency. It's been a month, okay? I don't think we're going to see a lot of arrests. I think we might see some, maybe. But it's been a month, so... Look, Cash has already launched an investigation into Comey. You guys saw this, the honeypots thing he was working on?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, come on. Let's go.
Yeah.
Dude, Dan Bongino as deputy FBI director he's
glorious.
Oh, my God, man. I don't know who would have been better. Like, when Matt Gaetz was named AG and we got all excited, Dan Bongino as deputy FBI director is, like, on that same level of this dude's going to come in like a bulldozer.
Yeah. That's what people voted for, too.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they want to see significant change in the bureaucracy, definitely at the FBI. You don't want to see Americans being singled out for their religious views or for prayer in public or for having the audacity to go to a parent-teacher meeting about worrying about what your kids are being taught in school.
Yep.
All right. The Real Hydro says, Tim, how will you explain to your child that you dress the same way every day? The beanie is who you are. Why not dress different with the beanie? I have seasons. So a few months ago, it was for maybe fall and winter, I was wearing the black button up. I periodically had the baseball t-shirt. I think that was in the fall a little bit. Now we're in the colder season. It is the hoodie. And then once summer comes around, I'll probably go back to the baseball tee. layers.
Yeah.
Layers.
The
Season.
only clothing you need to change daily, necessarily, socks and underwear. You can get away with your pants and your shirt. Your shirt you can get away with 1 extra day. Pants, maybe if they're jeans, 3
Depends on the
days.
socks.
In terms of more than once a day, or wear them.
You can actually, if you get nice wool socks, you can go a couple days without.
No.
Nice and wool are mutually incompatible.
No, no,
Yes,
no.
I
Real-
agree.
That's like the itchiest thing. I've never met a pair of unitchy wool socks.
Not to mention, like, I skate every day. My socks are soaking wet.
Yeah, gotta change those.
Drenched in sweat. Everything, my whole body, just sweat. I just throw them. Stick to the wall. I'm kidding, but yeah, no way. How will I explain it to my child? I don't think I will have to. I don't know.
The child
It's
will
gonna
also
be like-
change their seasons.
Kids wear the same thing every day, for goodness sake. They're going to feel comfortable with someone who doesn't change their clothes.
Well, I suppose when my child is old enough to speak and comes to me and goes, "Father, why are you wearing the same clothes again?" I'll be like, "Why are you talking like that?" I'm kidding. My kid's not going to be British. All right, where are we at? Mr. Vintage says, need to remind everyone of the dozens of articles in the mainstream press circa 2018, 2022, howling about the neo-Nazi militia groups in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
Now they are outraged we don't underwrite them. Yep. That's funny. Let's see. Chopsaki says, hey, Viva, Locals is great, but watch how easy it is to transition directly to Rumble Premium without having to use the awful Locals video interface.
They're two different. They're going to be still two different, not markets, but two different communities. Locals is going to be one distinct community, and Rumble Premium another one for those who want to. There's much more to the Locals community than
right. Locals is like they're funding you directly.
Locals. Yeah, there's some, which is they're
Premium the same thing.
Premium is the same thing. It's just that there's more. Locals is more like written stuff, video content,
see.
direct interaction. Rumble Premium is you get exclusive content on Rumble. It's two different products, but both equally awesome. But Locals is awesome.
I think Rumble's going to take off.
Absolutely. There's a shift in the zeitgeist. Trump, I mean, it's just a shame, Bongino has to now go be deputy director of the FBI. So he's that value from Rumble is, temporarily on pause, but he'll come back and his audience will be there.
If Chris and the crew over at Rumble can navigate properly right now, you take a look at Spotify desperately trying to play catch up in the podcasting game, and they are way behind Rumble. Now, for music, Spotify is king, right? Everyone knows it. Their stock is like $600. Rumble's stock is like $9 right now or something. But there's a reason Spotify is desperately trying to do video podcasting. Rumble already has it. So I'll keep it simple. We have our audio podcast, now video on Spotify. We do like 30,000 downloads on that. And I'm like, okay, it's fine, I guess. And, with all due respect to Spotify, they were telling us we're actually a very big show in news and politics. And they were like, we really want to get you on because your show does so well. And I was like, we do way more on YouTube and on Apple. Spotify's kind of low. And then we launch on Rumble and we're getting 250 to 300,000 on Rumble. And so it's like the first day we're on Rumble obviously will be big, but then in the first week we're doing 10 times what Spotify does. Why would someone launch a podcast on Spotify? And I got to say this. So that's why it's really going to come down to can the crew at Rumble navigate this PR-wise, because right now I believe it's fair to say it's a fact. If you launch a podcast on Spotify, you're going to get a fraction of the downloads, streams, views you're going to get to whereas if you launched on Rumble. If you launched video podcasting on YouTube, you're going to get 0. You launch video podcasting on Rumble, you're going to start off with a couple, like literally a random nobody. You're going to have views. So I'm looking at that and I'm like, if they can maximize that and explain to podcasters there's more audience here than on these other platforms, it'll be huge. The other thing is you guys should download the Rumble app. Download the Rumble app. Easy listening. Very good. And market's changing too. No longer are we doing ad reads based on platforms. It used to be like back in the day. It'd be like we'll advertise on Apple. We'll advertise on Spotify. We'll advertise on YouTube. Now it's because there's so many different platforms. It's just video streams and audio downloads because there's like 73 different platforms. So now it's like, what's your total reach? It's weird. So Rumble's primed, baby. It's going to be a question of, are they going to pull it off? but they certainly have a major opportunity. That's why we wanted to do a deal with them. We were like, you guys, they're ahead of everybody on this one. YouTube actually banned video podcasts. Can you believe it?
Crazy.
They were suppressing and shutting down video podcasters for nearly a decade. And Rumble was built to accommodate them. And now Spotify's trying to invest massively in this. I'm telling you. I don't know. I'm going to rant. I don't want to rant on that because I'll keep going. Here we go. Pullian says, Heaven received a new angel today. My kitty Chili passed away today at the age of 15. Adopted in October 2010. Please give your fur babies an extra treat and hug today. I'm sorry to hear it. Today, Seamus, we gave him some fresh salmon. And he loved it. Yes. I call him James now, though.
How'd that happen?
Because I don't respect the Irish. I'm kidding. I am Irish.
Seamus Coughlin just appeared in the room.
But that was a joke I said to Seamus. I was like, we're calling him James now because Seamus and James, obviously, it's the Anglo and the Irish. But I literally just call him James.
That's funny.
Yeah, the cat's name is James now. It makes it easy because we don't got to do Seamus 1 and Seamus 2 anymore. All right. What have we here? Scott Colum says Zelenskyy entered office promising peace, and he tried in the beginning. Azov threatened his life if he made a deal. It's widely reported if he makes a deal, he's a dead man. He got in over his head.
I'm telling you, he's going to go down as the modern day or the Yasser Arafat 2.0. He's in a position where he cannot make a peace deal, and where he's going to have nowhere to go to flee after he's not welcome in Ukraine anymore.
Interesting. We had a lot of people chatting saying Yasser Arafat, exact same thing.
Yeah.
Very.
Which is why the peace negotiations they're almost insincere, disingenuous, and oddly enough, to the detriment of his own people as well. They're going to run out of people to send to the front line in Ukraine if they haven't.
We'll wind
already.
up in California.
Yeah.
All right. Admiral Poseidon says, "Save it for the uncensored is now a joke. I love the rant reads and the call-ins, but in the new format, we've lost the exclusive content. After callers, y'all just sign off. We want uncensored. We have the Green Room show." So we've added an additional podcast, a Monday through Friday even, where we hang out and kind of just say whatever we want behind the scenes and talk about whatever. So maybe we can try and make it a bit more, I don't know, humorous, I guess. But that's why I keep telling everybody, go watch the Green Room show, because that's where we're hanging out behind the scenes. People are telling their stories, and they can literally just say whatever they want.
Is the person's complaint that it's not edgy enough, or there's not enough offensive content?
Before, when we weren't really doing the Green, like we were doing the Green for a while, it fell off. The way it used to be was that after the show ended, the uncensored show was like 10 minutes of a story with us kind of just riffing, and then we bring in callers. Now we're just bringing in we're doing a few minutes of Rumble rants and then bringing in callers. But I will add to that, if the Rumble rants have points to be made that bring up the conversation, and so we do have an uncensored portion for you tonight. Considering the Amaranth story, there's stuff that's not so family friendly, which we're going to give about, a good solid 10 minutes to, and talk about and show the video and all that stuff. It's, so you'll see. But yeah, the uncensored is still uncensored. The call-ins are still uncensored.
What they're saying is they want to see what's her name? Amaranth. They want to see her OnlyFans page in the after party.
Ah, well, you got to pay for that. That's not something we can accommodate. All right, we'll grab a couple more here. Captain Winkle says, I am from Mexico City, now a U.S. citizen, and just found out through Tucker Carlson, Ukraine is selling U.S. weapons to the cartels. Yeah, and a black market, just in general. I've heard that they were basically just taking U.S. materials and just selling them off.
We had a former president doing the same thing.
Oh, he wasn't selling them. He would just abandon them so that they could then be taken and sold off. He didn't do it.
Well, Obama and Fast and Furious.
Oh, yes.
Robert Rogers says, are we on the wrong side? The EU and UK arrest for memes and praying and protect grape rings. Grapes. They no longer line up with our ideals. Russia, on the other hand, kind of does somewhat.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vladimir Putin is...
I think there's an element, people want to lionize Putin because of the degree to which we've been lied to. They now assume that not only is he not a villain, but he must be a hero.
Definitely a villain. He's definitely a villain.
He's a freaking politician. There are very few politicians on earth or governments on earth that you should ever trust. And it's not because you happen to be Jewish that you're going to trust the Israeli government any more than you're American, you're going to trust the American government.
He's killed multiple people that were critical of him, people in press. He's used radiation and poison.
People just jump off.
Throwing people out. Putin is there is no way for like it doesn't make any sense to say that our values align more with Putin's. It's fine to say that the UK or that Europe has become an illiberal place, that they are now starting to institute, blasphemy laws. If you say things about Islam, they're going to throw you in jail because it's easier throwing you in jail than throwing all the people that are Muslim in jail. They're gonna say that you can't have certain opinions if you post things on the internet. Those things are terrible, and we should condemn them. But that doesn't mean that we should say, "Oh no, Russia is actually good." No, it's not. Putin is not a good guy. He's not. We don't want to be on his team.
He keeps pulling this bouncing back and forth from like what president and prime minister because he's not supposed to be in power, and he's just lying his way to stay in power.
You're making the same mistake Barack Obama made.
Well, no, but I think people want to view him as a benevolent dictator. So they say, yeah, sure, he's hard and ruthless and whatever, but at least he keeps stability and order. Bottom line, the people, everyone who he whacked, they shouldn't have mouthed off like that.
Yeah, I did.
All right, here we go. Luffy, the sun god, says, take it from someone who is the biggest One Piece fan in the UK. Luffy is fighting against a one world government. He's an anarchist, if anything. But he's also a hero. You know what I mean? Like, heroes are very distinct in their ethos and how they treat bad guys. I could never watch One Piece, though. I just find it so awful. The animation is just like the budget was 10 cents.
It was bad.
It's very bad.
And yet somehow South Park is among the best animated cartoons
But it's
on Earth.
intentionally like in that weird style. I don't know, man. I've tried to watch One Piece and I just cannot get into it. And everyone keeps telling me it's like so good. And it is, I think, like the most popular anime manga right now in the world. And I'm just like, eh. That being said, Naruto, what happened there? They were like, let's make a show about ninjas, and now it's aliens. And I'm just like, okay, and that fell off. But, welcome to Japan.
Whatever's
I'm
clever.
interested now.
All right, my friends, smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know. Go to rumble.com/Timcast IRL. That uncensored call-in show is coming up in about 30 seconds. Well, we're going to do a minute or so of outros, and then it'll be about 30 seconds. But we're gonna deep dive in the Amaranth story, uncensored, because we got some stuff to talk about. Not so family friendly, so you don't want to miss it. Again, you can go to rumble.com/Timcast IRL if you're not already there, and we're going to go over to that uncensored show in a few seconds. Follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Viva, you want to shout anything out?
Viva Frei on Rumble, vivabarneslaw.locals.com, the Viva Frei for someone who swears an awful lot on Twitter. I've reached my limit of polite tolerance of idiocy.
You can find me everywhere online at Shane Cashman. The show's Inverted World Live on YouTube and Rumble. On YouTube, we are about 1,000 away from hitting 40,000 or 50,000 subscribers. I forget, maybe 50 or 40, I forget. But there are 39 episodes in, so it's pretty sweet. If you can find us on there, subscribe, like, share it. Well, we'll see you there. What's up?
I am Phil That Remains on Twix. You can subscribe to my X page there. I am Phil That Remains Official on Instagram. The band is All That Remains. Our new record dropped on January 31st. It is called Anti-Fragile. You can check it out on YouTube, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Pandora, Spotify, and Deezer. Don't forget the left lane is for crime.
We will see you all over at rumble.com/Timcast IRL in about 30 seconds. Thanks for hanging out.